In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, an earthy feeling. I believe in the faith that grows, and the bow I goes can make.
Massive groups of protesters gathered in cities and towns across the country today.
Wow.
Part of a day of so-called No Kings demonstrations protesting the Trump administration.
Gay!
Organizers behind the No Kings movement say it's about democracy versus dictatorship.
Try harder not to suck. Bingo.
The rule of law is just being destroyed.
Wow.
ICE is in our neighborhood, literally snatching people off the street.
Good. I'm 90 years old, and I've never seen my country in this condition.
Oh, man.
Scientist Bill Nye says that decimation leaves us all vulnerable.
Cutting the budget, especially to NASA, is thoughtless.
Look at this man.
Today, thousands of protesters sending a message to the president.
I doubt it.
You are fake news.
Ooh, don't do it, please.
Very fake news.
You America-hating communist pig.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
Correct. I'm a knucklehead at times.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now. Skag free, whoever he is.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, October 19th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend Robert, my former Bible study leader.
Saddle up, partner.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
You know, I thought I dressed up festively tonight because if people aren't aware, it is my birthday and anniversary weekend. Friday was my anniversary. Yesterday was my birthday.
Congratulations, butthead.
And then I was in a panic before the show because yet again a software update threw my duct tape production into turmoil. And I had to get Robert the link for my Zoom call too. And then Robert shows up looking like, I don't know. I don't even, this is not a Halloween costume. This is not a bit. This is just Robert, ladies and gentlemen.
I did not intend to go full hipster. That's all I can say. Like, I happened to be at the wrong location with the wrong headphones. Otherwise, I would look almost normal.
I got to say, the headphones match the overalls, though. So this looks nicely color coordinated.
But that's kind of the problem. It makes it look intentional. I promise, guys. Was not on purpose.
Great guest tonight. Later in the show, I'll play a segment I recorded with Doug Mackey, of course, the famous meme convict, or former meme convict. His conviction has now been overturned on appeal. It's over. The Biden attempt to put him in prison for his anti-Hillary memes in 2016. That's all behind us. But it was good to catch up with Douglas about that, hear what he had to say, reflecting on the last 4 years of his life where the DOJ tried to chase him down for this. More than chase him down, they convicted him. And he'll tell us all about it. Otherwise, in the news tonight, all of the nursing home residents had a great field trip for No Kings Day. I don't know if you caught any of that, Robert. I thought about going down to the No Kings rally in Bozeman here. There was reportedly like a few thousand people there. And then I remembered, number one, it's my birthday, so I'm not doing that. And number two, I'd rather do yard work than go to No Kings. So I actually kind of winterized, well, with the help of my parents, much appreciated, winterized my landscaping, cut plants down and stuff like that. But did you get any No Kings time?
I watched some on the news. Where I live, I don't know. If we had a No Kings protest, I'm unaware of it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I didn't hear about it.
Well, you live in the right place then. Apparently I do not. But hey, great day for the No Kings nursing home field trip participants. Nobody's cane got bent. Nobody's wheel fell off of their chair. And Nancy Pelosi and the rest of Congress's oldest olds were out there cheerleading, did not break a hip. Of the many ironies of No Kings, I love people who have been in Congress since before either of us were born, telling us how dangerous concentrated DC power is. We'll get to that momentarily. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted on classified documents charges. He says it's all political, more Trump Justice Department weaponization. It probably is political, but it also looks like he did some stuff with classified documents. We'll discuss that. Trump, this surprised me. Trump commutes former Congressman George Santos' sentence on fraud charges. This also looks like one of those two things can be true at the same time. Like, I'm not a fan of George Santos. That guy is a lying fraudster for sure. However, it also does look like he kind of got some harsh treatment at his sentencing. And for his white collar crimes, he stole money, he defrauded people, but he was in solitary in federal prison in New Jersey. So he's out now. We'll discuss that. There's the New York City mayoral debate. I don't know if you caught any of that, Robert. Mamdani against Andrew Cuomo, and New Yorkers have to pray that Andrew Cuomo will save them from what's coming to their city. We'll get into that debate a little bit. Some other odds and ends. Hoax hate to close, of course. We'll take your super chats as well. Before we get into it, got to say hello to our friendly listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Western Razor Company. We know we're being lied to on a daily basis by our government, by corporate media, and by razor companies too. Think about it. Their ads used to appeal to your masculinity. Then they took advantage of your sensitivity with aloe strips. They kept adding blades, thinking you wouldn't notice how clogged they get, and the more they changed, the more plastic and disposable they became. The honest truth is that those other razor brands are lying to your face, and our friends at Western Razor aren't going to take it anymore. That's why their safety razors are 100% metal, made in the USA, and made with integrity. The replacement blades are inexpensive too, so you get a great shave, you save money long term, because when you buy a Western Razor once, it lasts you forever. Listeners get a 10% discount on any order from Western Razor when they use promo code MATT10 at checkout. Don't let those other razor brands lie to your face. Go to westernrazor.com, order yours today. Western Razor, the last razor you will ever need. Promo code MATT10 at checkout. And as always, don't forget to check out the many fine offerings from our friends at Hero Soap Company, bar soap, shampoo, conditioner, and more, including my signature scents, Timberline and Old West. Great smelling, all natural products. Portion of the proceeds benefit military and first responder charities as well. And there's a special soap scent now available just for Halloween. Step into the shadows of sophistication with Dracula, the scent of sandalwood with subtle musk and amber undertones. Confident, calm, and undeniably magnetic. Let freedom clean, even after dark. Some say that about my soap too, Robert. Let freedom clean, even after dark. But I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's beside the point. 10% off all of it at herosoapcompany.com. Promo code MCListener. Promo code MCListener. 10% off at Hero Soap Company. Find all the information on all of my deals at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. All right. This was the second No Kings weekend, as we were just discussing. The first one came on Trump's birthday, June 14th. And lucky me, I got my birthday present of No Kings all across the country too, which I happily avoided. Now, I'm unclear, Robert, did the protesters actually find any kings? Are they still searching? I want No Kings. What is their stance on Burger King? What is their stance on King Kong? Now, the Sacramento Kings, the basketball team, the Los Angeles Kings, the hockey team. Are these kings allowed to continue in our country, or are they banned too? No kings got to them. Did they find any?
Hey, we need a consistent policy. They all got to go. I'm good with that.
Fans of those teams might agree. We've had enough of them. Actually, weren't the I don't follow hockey. I think the Los Angeles Kings were good recently, weren't they? I don't know. I only follow your team if you have a player whose name sounds like a slur, and I'm not aware of anybody on the LA Kings who might. But of the many ironies on No King's Day, all the people who just a few years ago were demanding that you comply with the every whim of any government official who told you they were acting on behalf of the science, they now say no kings. And I don't know if you saw how many people were dressed up in colonial and revolutionary era attire, Robert. They love 1776 now. Remember, 1776 became 1619 because 1776 was actually very racist. 1619 was the true racist origin of our country. Now they love 1776 again. They were tearing down statues of the founding fathers and probably still will. But now the founding fathers are cool again. So I guess I'm happy for the agreement on that point. I just like to inquire a little bit. Which one is your favorite founding father and why? But I don't know if we got good answers to those questions. I probably should have gone down to No Kings and asked.
Mm-hmm. I don't know which clips you're going to show, so tell me if I'm just getting ahead of myself. But like they were walking around chanting, "This is what democracy looks like." And like, I was like, yeah, like Trump is what democracy looks like.
The people who claim to be standing up for democracy are out there protesting the results of a democratic election. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very confusing. And the fact that they can protest openly against the, say governing person, that's actually not a feature of democracy. That is a feature of a constitutional republic in which you have rights regardless of what the majority thinks. Like essentially everything of what they said was just the epitome of irony.
Yeah, it was hard to find any coherence there. Now, I'm going to focus on, once again, the average age at some of these demonstrations, or what appears to be so. But there are many different angles of contradiction and ridiculousness. I hate to bring a brief aside into this, but I did get a text. The verdict is in, Robert. My oldest son, Calvin, he says Robert looks like Handyman Hal. Are you aware of who Handyman Hal is? Let me take a brief aside for a 4-year-old's observation.
Sometimes those are the most hurtful. I am prepared for the worst.
Google requires a CAPTCHA? I have to do a CAPTCHA to search? Are you serious? What is the internet? We used to be a proper country, Robert. Oh my God. Cars. Where? Oh, there's the car. Sorry, I just want a picture of Handyman Hal, please. Can you do that for me? Are you serious? All right. I bring you the most important information on this stream, Come on. What the okay, I'm going to have to go to break just to pull up an image of Handyman Hal. Are you serious?
Is this like a kids show?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I'm cool with not knowing what the heck it was.
It's like Google's disabled for this purpose. Okay, there we go. Here's this guy on YouTube, Handyman Hal. This was a long way of getting to what is not even a good joke at all because Robert barely looks like that. But hey, I appreciate the comedic contribution to the show from my 4-year-old son, Calvin. Thank you for that. Anyway, back to the point. As Politico characterized it, Trump's Republican Party disparaged these demonstrations, No Kings, as the Hate America rallies over the weekend. But in many places, the events looked more like a street party. There were marching bands and huge banners with the Constitution's "We the People" preamble. So once again, I would like to have a discussion with these people. I'm glad that you have rediscovered fanhood in the Constitution. Now, please explain to me your favorite provisions of the Constitution. Free speech, but no hate speech. Right. Second Amendment, not a big fan of that. In general, what does the Constitution do? It outlines a series of limitations and the scope of the federal government, making sure it does not expand beyond those limitations and that scope. These are the same people who want the federal government running virtually every aspect of your life, your schooling, your healthcare, the regulations on your job. So I'm glad they've found appreciation of the Constitution once more. Just curious what pieces of it they're big fans of. But the supposed big accomplishment, Robert, that I've seen over the weekend in various headlines and news pieces is that nobody was arrested. They didn't have any arrests. So take that, Mike Johnson, take that, Donald Trump, people who were forecasting violence. There were no arrests, or very few. There were some arrests. But number one, some thoughts on no arrests. The major rallies were in blue cities. Last I checked, they don't really arrest anybody in blue cities, but they certainly don't arrest their politically useful people, of which the No Kings attendees are. Number two, does not being arrested, the mere state of not being arrested, does that actually accomplish anything politically? Whose mind was changed? Is anybody going to vote differently because of the silliness over the weekend? What are the actual political achievements here? Because if it's just not getting arrested, I also didn't get arrested over the weekend by doing yard work, but I'm not claiming to have made major political accomplishments here. Number three, the lack of arrests, to what you just said, Robert, kind of proved the point, don't they? The fact that nobody was arrested for going out there and exercising their constitutional right to free speech, wouldn't that suggest that there are, in fact, no kings and your search for them is futile because we don't have any in this country? And to your point on your signs, no kings since 1776. You're right. We searched far and wide. You guys baited this supposed king, and he did not, in fact, arrest you. But number four, and this I find interesting too. Like, let's say Trump wanted to be more subtle about it. Well, we can't go out and arrest them. I am like a wannabe king, but we can't go out and arrest them. It's too obvious. We'll prove their point. There are lots of things that Trump could have done given the government shutdown that he did not. For example, back in 2013, during the shutdown during the Obama administration, Obama was shutting down national parks, various public facilities that are a part of national parks. It's not. It's certainly plausible that Trump could have said, "Oh, there's a shutdown. You know, the National Mall, not available. Sorry, it's closed. You guys can't use that." They didn't even do that. They didn't even exercise plausible reason to obstruct these protests that they could have given past precedent. But I sense you want to get to the murderous commies, unless you.
Oh, no. I just didn't want to get ahead of you because I didn't know what you had prepped and all that. I listened to their chants. I subjected myself to that because when you told me we were talking about this, I thought, okay, I'm going to see what they have to say. It was the whole this is what democracy looks like, which, like I said, makes zero sense. They had a chant about, ICE. Most of the chants were about ICE, which it just shows, I don't know how ridiculous the whole thing was. Like, literally their biggest complaint was that the government was enforcing the law. And mind you, the same law we've had for like 100 years. It's not like Trump came out with a new law that it's like immigrants must die or something. And then it's like the same law that like Bill Clinton was enforcing and George Bush and Obama. That's literally the worst complaint. And then I saw some chants about we protect our own, and they were talking about transgender people. And so honestly, the whole No Kings thing just feels sad. It's like, you guys don't even have this like smoking gun complaint. You got to talk about ICE. Okay.
Oh, they do. Did you see the meme that Trump posted over the weekend? They manufactured their own smoking gun or pooping gun, as we'll get to.
I missed that one. You'll have to show me.
Just wait. I'll get to that in a little bit. But of course, there are all kinds of accusations of the right wing's extremism, even including Charlie Kirk himself. Oh, did Charlie Kirk invite this upon himself by saying provocative things? I don't endorse violence necessarily, but if you go poking the hornet's nest, don't you expect this sort of thing? We've heard accusations that mere words are extremism, even when they're not. They're mainstream opinion of half of the country plus. But there was extremism welcome at these rallies. Again, I'll grant, within the context of mostly peaceful protests, you also have people who are there for explicitly non-peaceful reasons who are tolerated by the crowd. In Seattle, a protest marcher had a sign that says, "Want to kill Nazis with me?" And then someone asked, hey, number one, are you serious? And number two, who would you classify as a Nazi worthy of this murder quest? And I think it's a guy. I think this guy said that he'd kill White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
Who are you going to kill?
Nazis.
Who do you define as a Nazi?
What do you mean? It's pretty...
In this context, who's a Nazi?
Stephen Miller's a Nazi.
So you're going to kill Stephen Miller?
If I had the chance, yeah, I would.
I don't know if that's something I'd say on camera, bro.
You America-hating communist pig.
But there were no arrests, Robert. There were just people marching around advocating the murder of specific people. That's all. Did you see the woman waving the Mexican flag and doing the Charlie Kirk mockery?
No.
Oh, man. Okay, so this lady, now I don't know. This was, in fact, today. I couldn't find the full context for this. It was posted today. It was, in fact, today. I'm confident in that because there's no Kings. It's obviously post Charlie Kirk because that's what she's doing, and there's no Kings signs in the background. So it was somewhere over the weekend. I just don't know exactly where. And there's clearly some passersby kind of agitating this woman, or, you know, there's clearly a back and forth. I won't pretend that there isn't. But she thinks it's suitable to mock her political opposition with what is a bullet to the neck gesture.
Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass? That's a huge bitch! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass?
I don't know who that woman is. There were some claims about her potential identity on X. But yeah, so not only do we have the actual shooting of people for political disagreement, we have it as a point of mockery for this mostly peaceful crowd with no arrests. So yeah, but you know, their opposition, they're the extremists. They're the people we have to worry about in terms of violence. And even if those are isolated examples, there were, I don't know if you heard, Robert, there were 7 million people who attended these rallies.
I'm sure. And I'm sure also 300 million people voted for Biden, but sure.
Yes. It was records on both fronts. Biggest protests ever, biggest voter turnout ever. They're very good in that regard. But what is, like, let's say that these people, you have big crowds, surely, whether it's 7 million or not. You have a few kooks in every big crowd. Fine. Let's say that's the case. Well, in New York City, the No Kings rally is openly sponsored by actual communists. You've got the New York City Democratic Socialists. This is promotional material for the event in New York City. You got all the sponsors, the organization sponsoring it. You got the New York City Democratic Socialists and the Freedom Socialist Party. And maybe if you say that they're different somehow, that's, as Bernie would say, that's democratic. Yeah, sure, we want to murder you and take all your stuff, but we're going to do it democratically. We're going to vote before we commit those crimes against you. But openly on the promotional material down there on the bottom left, CPUSA sponsoring the event. Welcome with everybody else. That's the Communist Party of the United States, the actual national Communist Party, featured as though that's normal, mainstream, not radical in the way they want to paint their opposition. So I know the word communism is thrown around easily, and I know people fear McCarthyism or something. I've got the hammer and sickle with a new minimalist modernized graphic on the event promotionals in New York City.
That's disgusting because the communists killed more people than the Nazis. Imagine if a right-wing event had like Nazis USA and had like a little cute logo or whatever, a modernized swastika. Like people would lose their minds. But like, you know, like a corporate looking one, whatever that would be.
The Nazis really do have a branding problem lately. They need a logo update, a refresh. I'm not saying I'm not great with graphic design, so I'd be the wrong guy to ask.
But really, I mean, like the communists are not any better. I've always found that outrageous, that somehow identifying yourself as a communist still allows you to be in polite society. But if you were to, again, call yourself a fascist or a Nazi or a whatever, no, that is beyond the pale. This is disgusting. And the same happens in Chile, and I've always been bothered by that.
Well, they had a solution. Well, was Pinochet Chile? Or was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They had a solution to that down there.
They did.
Are there any helicopter tour businesses still operating, or is that a relic of the past?
That is a relic of the past. So let's just say the problem has returned. Hopefully it will not escalate to the same point as it did back in the day. But yeah, he did find an effective solution.
Temporarily, at least. All right. Well, even if the extremism was isolated, the truth is this is not even new radical. When we think of the term radicalism, we usually think youthful. We think young people. This is not new radicalism. This is very old radicalism. And we've seen this in effect for a while now. And I saw this personally when I went down to the January 6th vigil a couple of years ago in this town, and I spoke. with what I knew was going to be an oppositional speech to the people who were there. I just didn't expect to get heckled by actual retirees with canes, calling me a Nazi and telling me to eat shit and die. And that was kind of a point of awakening for me, I suppose, when I realized that a lot of the authentic anti-Trump resistance, quote unquote, the actually not paid actors.
We're not paid actors. It really happened.
The people who are motivated on their own behalf to go out there and participate in these things, a lot of them are very old. They're retirees from the 60s hippie era, and they're kind of having one last hippie revival before they're all gone. I've seen it personally. You can watch it in effect at the first No Kings event in June, and certainly at this one that just happened over the weekend. And there's a lot of footage to this effect, but this one went viral over the weekend. This is from somewhere in North Carolina. And just have a survey of the crowd here and see if you can spot anyone who's under, say, 50 years old. There might be a few, but you got actual grandmas with blue hair, pink hair. Now, I went through and surveyed the crowd here and read the signs because I wanted to see what they were saying. So I'll highlight one in a moment. But I think I saw one, maybe two people who were under the age of 50. Let's say there's one right there. And
That's disgusting.
she doesn't look like she's a person you would take advice from on really any topic. But I loved this. Sorry, go ahead.
I am confident the only book she has read is Harry Potter. Like, I know it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, she can probably recite it word for word. But as I said, I went through because I wanted to see, are there any signs that say help me kill Nazis or things we saw earlier? On the right, this woman unironically has a sign, I'm Gramtifa. Now that is self-aware. That you got credit for that one. You got me. That's funny. I hope you're not actually an Antifa, but the fact that you call yourself Gramtifa shows a certain level of self-awareness that I can appreciate. So I hope the Gramtifa meme is really leaned into, not only by people who mock these things, but by the activists themselves. Just be Gramtifa. That's hilarious. That's like the funniest thing they've come up with in years. So I hope they continue with this. But you can see the elderly age in the national news reporting, too. Here was NBC's nightly news last night, and it features, of course, famed boomer scholar Bill Nye, the science guy, with commentary toward the end.
Hundreds of thousands gathering at No Kings demonstrations, rallying against the Trump administration.
The rule of law is just being destroyed.
I'm 90 years old, and I've never seen my country in this condition.
Scientist Bill Nye says that decimation leaves us all vulnerable.
Cutting the budget, especially to NASA, is thoughtless.
Okay. Thoughtless. Now, I looked at what is the budget cut proposal, Robert? Are you aware of what the budget cut proposal for NASA is?
I have not kept up. That was not right at the top of my priorities.
Are you telling me that you have more important things to consider in your daily life than whether the top scientists at NASA get infinite money forever?
I'm not even sure what they have done since the 60s. Like
what
now
they
it's just
allegedly did in the 60s.
Indeed. Because now it's just like Elon Musk conquering the stars or whatever. Like, what are they doing?
But I looked at this because I thought, well, what is he really? Oh, no, imagine NASA getting a slight budget cut. What kind of country are we? We used to be a country where you could do Google searches without captchas, but look where we are now. We're not a proper country anymore. The budget proposal from Trump for the next year is that NASA gets a cut of 24% instead of the infinite budget for whatever they want, whenever they want. How will we survive? And so not only is Nye lecturing the rest of us for not necessarily prioritizing that, he's not even talking about what's realized yet. He's talking about a budget proposal for next year. It's not the law yet. It hasn't been agreed to. Now, what would a king do, Mr. No Kings? He would delete the agency and move on if it wasn't to his liking. Instead, this king is waiting on congressional authorization to fund it and a negotiation back and forth about what that number should be. But what a luxury issue. You can't afford groceries. You can't afford housing. The government taxes all of these things to make them less affordable for you. And then, of course, they print money to supposedly pay for these things that make them even less affordable still. And this guy is telling you, well, sure, it's getting harder and harder to live your life on this planet, but don't forget about the moon, Mars. What sort of society would we be if we can't do space adventures on your back? And to the point that you made, Robert, to the extent that we believe space adventures are even real, they are being conducted better privately at this point in time. Why is the government involved in this at all? I know that there's government tax breaks or subsidies, and people talk about Elon Musk gets all this money from the government. Whatever he gets is not straight up government, a straight up government check in the way that NASA does. There's at least private investment, private risk, private reward. So
and results.
Yeah.
Even if both projects were coming out of our pockets as taxpayers, at least one has results and the other one doesn't. But this is exactly what I was saying. Like the protest was so sad. Like their issues were so lame. I just, when I listen to them, I'm like, wow, okay, you have really nothing going on in your life.
The woman who was there is, I'm 90. I've never seen my country like this before. Like what? To the point that you made. Deporting illegals? Yes, you've seen that for the entire duration of your life. It has pretty much always been that way. I've never seen a very minor cuts to the federal budget. Well, you probably should have seen some of those. A lot of that explains why our government is in the state that it is now. But I thought about this 90 years ago. She was born in 1935 or something like that. The federal government was so much smaller. Okay, you did not have HHS. You did not have the EPA. You did not have the Department of Education. You did not have the Transportation Department. So much of the federal bloat she has watched over the course of her life. Of course, she lived to be 30 years old pre-1965. Back then, the immigration policy was something closer to.
Go back to where you come from, okay?
In other words, the country has been moving leftward her entire life, not just in its political perspective, but in its concentration of power in Washington, D.C. And it has moved something like 1,000% in that direction. She sees it maybe scaled back, what, 5%? If we're optimistic, probably not even that much. And she's going to talk about how she doesn't recognize this country anymore. The reason the country is unrecognizable is because of the constant drift toward the direction you support. But congratulations, are 90 years old. You can still get out there and walk around and talk. That's an accomplishment. I'm not even joking about that. Like, good for you. You've lived a long life. You can't tell me that at 90 years old, a death could greet any one of us at any point. But when you're 90, like every day is a gift, especially. Do you have nothing but, you don't have your family that you'd rather be with in your final days? You don't, anything else going on besides public demonstration about how the government is supposedly nothing you recognize? It's really sad, like you said.
Well, I think she really misses the good old days before the civil rights movement.
That's true.
She must be quite upset, because that's what I find so funny. In 90 years, really, this is the worst. So like 1950s America was just so much better. Cool. Okay, old lady, I agree with you. Right?
We're going back. Brown v. Board was a mistake, all right? We're separate but equal was inherently equal, actually. We're going back to that.
Women get back in the kitchen, the whole deal. She's like, hey, this is a mistake. All right, lady.
Well, I mentioned the elderly members of Congress got in on the action, too. In suburban Boston, Senator Ed Markey, who's actually been in Congress since 1976. Okay, that's not a made-up number. He has been in Congress for almost, that's 50 years now? Longer than I've been alive by a decade. And he's warning us about the dangers of concentrated power in D.C. The guy who's been there for 50 years is warning us about power concentration there. Here he is cheerleading his fellow geriatrics.
I'm here in Newton at their No Kings rally. Just absolutely unbelievable. You know, they are showing up. They're standing up against the president of the United States, who thinks he's a king, he thinks he's a dictator, and Newton is saying no. Massachusetts is saying no to dictators. Thank you, Newton, for what you are doing here today and what Massachusetts is doing on No King's Day. Thank you.
Now, I actually agree with him. It is amazing that all of these people are there standing up.
That's disgusting.
Whoops, I meant rim. I meant rim shot. It also is disgusting. But yeah, don't fall and don't break a hip. They haven't. I don't know. There were no arrests, but were there any broken hips on No King's Day? We don't know yet. The other woman we just heard from, she was quoted as saying, "I'm 90 years old and I've never seen that man not in Congress." So, you know, it's been a long time. Did you see Nancy Pelosi?
I felt a little short, I think, but I only saw it because of when you sent me what we were discussing today. Go ahead.
Nancy Pelosi, of course, famously ripped up Trump's speech after the State of the Union. I forget what year that was. Now she posted a video of herself ripping up a crown. Again, very impressive strength for her age. And her teeth stayed in place, too, so well done.
Tear up the crown. Gonna tear up the crown.
Likewise, that woman has been in Congress since 1987, longer than I've been alive, and I'm not even young. And she's going to warn us about concentrated DC power. Also, unfortunately, Robert disabled the replies on this post. And that really bummed me out because I wanted to have a tour through the replies to this post. Nancy Pelosi blocked me from that enjoyment. So unfortunate. But you want to say anything about Miss Pelosi before we get to the Trump meme?
They just come across like, this is going to sound weird, but they come across like cute because like they're like all these old folks. Like I see them and I can't even be mad. I'm like, oh, like you got out today. Good. Like I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're out walking and you did some crafts. Like, honestly, that's all that crosses my mind. It's like, I'm so glad this old lady did some arts and crafts, bought a crown, got to tear it on camera. We need younger people. That's all I'll say.
Do you think the interns or the staff who were responsible for acquiring this crown evaluated crowns at whatever costume shop or arts and crafts store they went to and assessed them for tearability? We need one that is as cheaply made as possible. If it's too durable, if it's too sturdy, Nancy will not be able to rip it. I wonder if they pre-cut it. Did they put some perforations in the crown to make it tearable?
For sure. They got it on Temu on purpose. They're like, we need it to be cheap.
Well, Trump responded to the No Kings events over the weekend with a meme, one of these AI video memes that have become fashionable lately. So on Truth Social, Trump posted this fake, distorted, misrepresented video of himself wearing the crown that he says, or they say he does. And he's taking a fighter jet to make a special delivery to the No Kings protesters. Now, for copyright reasons, that's as much Top Gun as I can play. But there's Trump dropping a payload of shit onto the New York City protesters, right onto Harry Sison's head in Times Square. They're all just getting actually dumped on. If you can't actually see the video here, if you're listening to the show. Now, in the meme that Trump posted, the Highway to the Danger Zone was playing, but I can't play it or they'll come after me. But I figured there'd be some kind of like one of those classic fact checks from some news outlet that have become common now. Oh, that's a deceptive video. Trump didn't actually fly a fighter jet and dump shit on Times Square on Harry Sison's head. I didn't see that, so maybe they're learning their lesson. And I thought there is actually a pretty good opportunity for a great Top Gun sequel here if Trump gets in touch with Tom Cruise. Not to discredit Trump's pilot skills in this particular video, but if you mixed the production quality of the Top Gun movie series with this theme, I think there's a real action movie possible here that people would be interested in viewing.
Man, that's hilarious. This is what I appreciate about Trump. Just troll him. Just troll him. And the meme is not even good. Like, it's not even all that great, but like, I appreciate the hustle, the fact that he didn't like apologize. Oh, I'm not trying to be a king. I'm just trying to get along. He's like, no, sure.
I'm wearing the crown. If you tell me I'm wearing the crown, then I'm wearing the crown. And I saw a lot of discussion to this effect on X in the last few days. That is to say, when you repeatedly call people not, it was about the Politico, or it was about the Young Republicans leak in Politico. Did you see that story this week?
Yeah.
So the people in there were joking, but they were making Hitler jokes, and they were saying they love Nazis or whatever it was they said. And some of the defense that people were raising was, yeah, well, you keep calling people Nazis. Guess what? They're going to make jokes about being Nazis. And this was unfathomable to the progressive people discussing it. What do you mean? If I just call you a Nazi enough, you become a Nazi? Well, maybe. But the truth, because you keep throwing the epithet around, the insult around, people are going to lean into it, if only insofar as it's a joke. Like, yeah, well, they all say we're Nazis, so, I start raising that arm or whatever, it becomes a joke. And we somehow I had a connection of this into this story. Where the hell was I going with that? I lost.
Kind of leaning into the.
Oh, bit. It's Trump. Trump is doing the same thing here. Where I'm not a king, but if you're going to accuse me of aspiring for a crown, I might as well just lean into it, and I will fly a fighter jet with the crown on. Similarly, what do you mean? If I just call you a king enough, you'll become. He's not going to become a king, but he's going to lean into the caricature that you have created because it becomes funny to mock you. But points that escape them. Harry Sassan. So do you know who Harry Sassan is? Yeah.
No, that I don't know.
Okay. Well, you'll see him momentarily. This is this kid is a young influencer in Democrat politics. So I don't know exactly what his job title is, but he has a big TikTok, YouTube channel, all the social media, and he's famous for, whether being directly paid or not, propagating all the preferred Democrat talking points to the youth. That's all he does all day. And he gets in social media fights because of that. So Trump saw whoever made the meme. Trump, of course, himself did not actually make the meme. Trump sees these things and he hits repost because they're funny. Whoever made it decided it was appropriate to do this meme dump on Harry Sassan. So Harry Sassan responded with a TikTok video, and man, oh man, did he have some real zingers to get Trump.
What I just described to you is somebody who is mentally unwell. It's just what it is. 7 million Americans, including myself, just got out there and protested against Donald Trump, and his administration's response is a shitty AI video. Yeah, I think the Democrats are doing pretty good. As soon as I saw that video, I responded to it by saying, that plane wouldn't have made it off the ground with your fat ass in the pilot's seat, and I stand by that.
Fucking own, bitch!
I'm just glad fat shaming is allowed again. Constitutional appreciation is fashionable once again. Fat shaming is cool. Our country is healing, Robert. And
I'm on board. I should have been out there.
To Harry Sassan, don't think I didn't notice what you did there with that shitty video line. Very clever pun. I like it. Now, Harry Sassan appealed to reporters on X. Hey, will you guys ask Trump why he posted this video? And J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, personally responded and said, you know what, Harry, I'll ask him for you. And that was earlier this afternoon. I'm not sure if JD got back with Harry yet or not. And I actually don't believe Harry himself is offended in any way by this.
Of course
not that anyone would think that's a completely authentic response that we just saw, but I'm trying to put myself in a reverse situation where, for whatever reason, the Biden administration or the hypothetical Kamala administration made an AI video of them taking a dump on me personally. That would be hilarious. That would be the best bit for my show that has ever come into existence. And so I don't think anybody really buys the pearl clutching, even if you make your brand off of Trump hatred. Isn't this like the height of Trump hatred that you could possibly achieve? The guy posted a video of him shitting on you. How do you get higher in the career of Trump opposition?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way to defend it. Nobody is. Like I said, these people don't have anything to complain about. He should have had better comebacks. As an influencer, I would like to believe that if Nancy Pelosi made a video, pooping on you, you would have a funnier comeback. Like,
I hope. I don't know if Harry has a team of writers or if he does it himself, but yeah, I was a little disappointed. Oh, Trump's a fat piece of shit. Well, all right. I guess that works, but there's got to be something more clever here. And given the AI tools, it's not even that he didn't have a good line. It's like there's got to be a better video possible. One of the things that I saw in the replies was by the time Harry posted that video responding to Trump, someone had already AI'd the video of him talking. It's the same setting, the same room, but as he's talking, someone who looks like an FBI agent or someone in some kind of federal agent suit runs up behind him and just smashes what is a shit balloon into his face. So he gets excremented again in an AI video that was created on the fly. It's amazing how fast these things are made. But
yeah, I was thinking that part of the Trump video, no, the plane part is obviously fake, but the one scene where the kid gets pooped on, it actually looks very real. Like
it looks pretty good.
If that was the only scene, not that part obviously fake, but the other one, like you could picture
like right on his face. The most important part looks legit, is what you're saying. Right there.
It does. Like I'm gonna kind of sound like a boomer, but that looks believable.
Can I go frame by? Oh, look at that. Wow, that's a great frame right there. Anyway, now another Democrat urging everyone to participate in No Kings was the not that elderly Kamala Harris. But the irony with Kamala Harris isn't her tenure in D.C. necessarily. It's the fact that she's the woman actually crowned queen by her party, as in she was anointed the nominee by her party without having received an actual vote. Of course, they acted like Joe Biden was going to be their nominee. Then once the primary season has passed, they install Kamala Harris. And now Kamala Harris is posting videos saying, well, the great thing about our country is that the power is in the people. So go out there and participate in No Kings.
Hey, everybody. So in our country, the power is with the people. And tomorrow, I encourage everyone to get out there in peaceful protest of what is happening in our country and express our voice around the country we believe in. So get out there and join the No Kings event near you, and please take care. I'll see you later.
So the power is with the people, unless it's, of course, the selection of the Democrat Party candidate. They rigged it in 2024 with her selection. They consolidated the field behind the scenes with Joe Biden in 2020. 2016, they provably rigged it for Hillary against Bernie. I don't know. Who knows what happened in the Obama era, but it's been a long time since the Democrat Party has lived out the sort of principles that Kamala is articulating here.
You know what gets me about that video? It's the line where she says, get out there and peacefully protest, quote, what is happening in our country, close quote. I think those are the exact words. Excuse me, no. You got to tell me, like, what are we protesting? What is happening in our country? Like, again, I need details. Is it the fact that we're enforcing the same immigration law we've had for decades? What is it? Like, I really need to know.
It's not enough money for the space shuttles. Bill Nye explained it to you. I don't know how much more clear he needs to be.
That is true. That is true. Our moon base,
Did you see Kamala getting pissed off at hecklers on her book tour?
No.
So she has a new book out. It's called 107 Days. Of course, a reference to her party appointment and her run for president last year. She only had 107 days. Remember, that's why she couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg as her vice president. It's not that she's anti-gay or afraid of people who are anti-gay. It's that she only had 107 days to convince people that Pete isn't that gay. So she couldn't do it.
Like he was too flaming gay.
I guess, but he's not that obviously gay. If you didn't tell me all the time how gay he is, I might not even know. But
that is quite funny. The whole I couldn't pick him because he was gay. I cannot believe she wrote that, or somebody
right.
did for her or whatever.
Yeah, I assume it's ghostwritten. You're right, but anyway, Kamala is getting heckled not by Trump fans. She's getting heckled by her own people. She's getting heckled by left wingers, mostly about Israel and Gaza and the role that she played as vice president as this conflict continued under Joe Biden. So she's in D.C. this week, and she got angry at one of the hecklers, and she yelled at this person, "I'm not the president. Go protest Trump."
And, I sometimes think about, you know what? I am not president of the United States. You want to go to the White House and talk to him? Then go on and do that.
silly woman.
And as angry as she sounds, and I get it, hecklers are annoying, but it's still, I have to agree with her on the point.
I am not president of the United States.
We're all very grateful for that. I'm not even saying she's unjustified in her anger. It's just the shrillness of the response. It's very Hilarian, if that Hillary-like. I just imagine if that woman was running our country, the sort of state that we'd be in right now. So I'm glad that we were wise enough to avoid that.
But I must say, I kind of respect her response. Like,
you think so? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Like, hey, I'm not president, get out of here, like, whatever. Now, I think it comes across kind of cringy because she's trying to keep this, like, jokey kind of smiley face on.
She was so
like,
serious, she didn't even laugh. Not a cackle at all.
I guess that is true. But I respect this. You know what? She for once seems to have spoken her mind in a truthful way.
Maybe that was the most authentic Kamala moment we've ever seen. It's quite possible. I want to talk another piece of questionable Democratic movement here, and that is what looks like the plan to oust Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, otherwise known as Based Frankenstein.
Why did they take that picture? They make him look homeless.
So, unfortunately, I have an archive here to get around their paywall at Axios, so it's a little blocked by this notification. But yeah, I was laughing about this earlier because if people can't see, it's an illustration of John Fetterman standing on a chessboard that I gather is meant to imply strategy and all. But he's wearing basketball shorts, like running shoes, and an oversized kind of work-looking shirt. Now, I agree that this photo was probably chosen to make him look as unattractive as possible. Then again, when does John Fetterman ever dress appropriately? Maybe it's perfectly representative.
I suppose so. Maybe this is just one of many pictures where he looks like this.
John Fetterman looks, I don't know, just his body proportions are hilarious. Looks like he could use a leg day, but looks like he could use an everything day, probably. And I don't know that the stroke condition allows such things regardless. But hey, this man is not only a sitting U.S. senator, he's probably the most sensible Democrat in the Senate. He's up for re-election in 2028. Now, of course, when I say sensible, it's not like he votes much different from his party. I think he votes with the Democrat, with Schumer and the Democrat party line, something like 95%. So the reason he's hated is just because he says somewhat sensible things sometimes that go against the Democrat party line. He is actually voting to reopen the government. He bucked Schumer on that. So once in a while, Fetterman he doesn't hate Trump enough. And so he's disliked in his own party for not hating Trump enough. And so now you have what looks like might become a split among Democrats in Pennsylvania. Axios is speaking to top Pennsylvania Democrats believed to be under consideration to run to challenge Fetterman in the primary for his 2028 reelection. And they're not denying the possibility. So it does look like there are some metaphorical chess pieces moving here. And the reason it's insane for Democrats to try to oust Fetterman isn't just because they're not, they're crazy. It's not just crazy because they won't tolerate dissent in their party. That's already well established. It's because John Fetterman is really their last actual success in the Senate. By that, I mean he was elected in 2022. Their last electoral success. He was elected in 2022. And he flipped that seat from red to blue. Remember, it was formerly Republican Pat Toomey's seat. Toomey retired. It was Fetterman against Republican Dr. Oz, and Fetterman won. 2022, we've now been through this election cycle. We'll see what happens in 26. The map is very bad for Democrats, but that's the last flip in the Senate for Democrats, as in taking a red seat and making it blue. And Pennsylvania, of course, is a very competitive state. It went for Trump. Someone could run to Fetterman's left and succeed in the primary, I'm sure. The question is, how does that work out in the general? Fetterman is, I think, I don't know all the Pennsylvania Democrat politicians, but Fetterman, I would bet, is their strongest Senate candidate, as preposterous as that would seem, because he has moderate appeal, and that's why he was elected. If you run whoever the Zoran Mamdani is in Pennsylvania, there's a strong possibility they erase their achievement from 2022 and hand that seat back to Republicans because they're too crazy to even accept their wins. Like John Fetterman can vote with you 95% of the time, but you don't like him because he sometimes disagrees with you on CNN or something. If they decide to oust John Fetterman and run someone crazier, this is going to be quite the show. So I look forward to it, Robert.
Absolutely. He's funny. He actually has a sense of humor, which is the rarest thing for a Democrat.
Yeah, it's that's probably why they hate him too. He could probably write better lines for Harry Sasson. So
100%. He could make memes when nobody else can. They're jealous. He has to go.
Well, I want to talk John Bolton, but we're at a little bit of an odd time here. We're right at the top of the hour, and I got to get to our interview as well. So maybe we save Bolton until after the interview and go through it then. Would that work for you?
Sure.
Before we get into the interview with Doug Mackey, let's take some super chat though and see what our super chatters have to say, and then we'll come back to Bolton later in the show. Pull up super chat here. Over on Rumble, Yakko 1977. These No Kings protests, or the No Kings protest, is just more left-wing lunacy. They're free to protest, but they think they're in tyranny. I can't even join them because I have to work so I can pay taxes for my shutdown government, or to my shutdown government. Yeah. Well, I guess it was a Saturday. You know, most people have an off day. I'm supposed to believe these are productive members of society, but a lot of them appear to be retired, and I think the turnout could have been just as strong on a Tuesday afternoon or something. Your friendly neighborhood Fed.
Fed.
Happy week 3 of furlough to my fellow Feds. He's celebrating his vacation. I'm being called back into the office this week to work part-time, but not getting paid. Here are some more shekels to my 2 favorite skinheads. Well, like I said, they call us Nazis. We might as well be Nazis, you know? Ninja Kitty over on Rumble. Pelosi should have used a Burger King crown. Are those still a thing? The furball totally wants one. I remember the Burger King crowns. At least I remember. I've never been a big Burger King guy. It's always been low tier fast food to me, but I seem to remember in my childhood that was a thing. Like that. It wasn't even full on cardboard. It wasn't that nice. It's like that paperboard crown that would wrap around and attach together. That was part of Burger King branding, right? I'm not misremembering that.
Yeah, maybe that was too durable though for Nancy Pelosi to try to tear up. You know.
Sometimes you have to wonder. Like, have you ever, when you think you remember things about prior corporate branding, are you aware of the? What is it with Fruit of the Loom where they say there was never any fruit in the cornucopia?
The Mandela effect.
Yeah, but there's like that. There was. I want to make sure I characterize it correctly. But didn't the company claim that there was no? Was it there was no cornucopia or no fruit in the cornucopia?
I can. I am aware of what you are saying. Like,
yeah,
I've heard this before, but I cannot recall.
The Fruit of the Loom cornucopia is a well-known example of the Mandela effect, like you said, where a large number of people share a false memory of the logo featuring a cornucopia or horn of plenty behind the fruit. Okay, that's bullshit. There was definitely a cornucopia.
You are fake news.
Very fake news.
So their claim is there was no cornucopia. It's just a collection of fruit. And they have a series of historical logos to try to prove the point. No, there was definitely a cornucopia. Call me fully Mandela'd. But I don't think that's what's happening with the Burger King crown. I'm pretty sure those were real.
Yeah, you're right.
Joshy Boy over on YouTube's, we'll get through YouTube and Rumble here. There was another No Kings protest. First time hearing of it. Happy birthday and happy anniversary, Robert number 2. That's to me. I'm Robert number 2. Glad to know who runs this show, but that's all right. Tortuga. I had to put on my sunglasses to watch this stream. The head glare is off the charts. I can't speak for Robert, but I thought I have thoughtfully managed my head glare. And Robert is in an unusual location, so I don't know that he had time to manage head glare.
No, I try. I actually do try, by the way. In my other office, I turn the lights like more brown, so maybe there won't be so much glare. This is a real problem, people, okay?
It actually is. Like when I was setting up the lighting, because I have updated the lighting as part of all the stuff that I've done in my studio space since the break. And when I set up these lights, you know, I like a little light behind me. And when I was playing around with its placement, like, yeah, if it's too overhead, there's a shine. So I thought of you guys when I was trying to set this up, make sure I didn't get head glare, but
great story, compelling and rich.
Not all of you appreciate, unfortunately. Thanks, Tortuga. Jonathan Prezios, the Latin Kings are approved of course. Yeah. Yeah, the Latin Kings, the Democrats definitely like. You're right. Oh, no. I shouldn't say that because I appreciate your support for the show, Newbie of Death Reviews, but I don't know if you're familiar with this particular super chatter, Robert, but he forces me to press the button. I have an ethical dilemma about pressing.
You are gay, LMAO.
If you read this, that is. So I press it for Newbie of Death Review, but I feel conflicted about it.
It's a good sounder.
It's one of the best pieces of government audio ever provided. I can't delete it from the soundboard, so it stays. Esoterica Unbound. So glad the weekend's nonsense is behind us. Between my lefty and righty friends on Facebook, boomers and Gen Xers, all of them, my feed has been the battle of the lame-ass memes. The MAGA ones were boring and repetitive. I guess I didn't do a full meme review, but I thought the Top Gun one was pretty good. The lefty ones were delusional. Old age is demoralizing enough on its own, but seeing how devoid of cool my contemporaries have become is truly depressing. Well, if we're lucky, we all live long enough to become old and uncool. I don't know. Does this generation, by which I mean like the boomers who are protesting, are they self-aware? Now here I am, sitting as a middle-aged man in a Hawaiian shirt, like, do these people realize their age? Yeah, I know that's that makes me look a little unself-aware. But I guess what I'm saying is whether they are aware that it's impossible for them to look quote-unquote cool or not, it's like I said earlier, I hope these people have something in their life at that age that is more worthy of their time than this. It is actually saddening to me that this is so motivating to them that they will spend some of their final years captured by this delusion. It's very unfortunate.
But I think that you have it exactly right. Like, this is a delusion in their minds. When I was watching that, all of the old people, I thought they actually have been brainwashed. Like they actually believe this. Unlike the young people, when I see some like 25-year-old girl with their blue hair screaming at whatever, it's like, you just have daddy issues, like move on. But these old people, they believe it. Like, you can tell they have been watching CNN for the last 30 years and they earnestly believe the world is coming to an end. And that's so sad.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. Jack over on Tippy Stream. Day 3 of donating until I find a wife. Based on my math, there's likely around 50 to 100 single women aged 18 to 25 who watch this episode. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I don't know if there are that many single women of that age group watching this show. But hey, we can try. I'm in my mid-20s. I have a nice house in the countryside, and I would like to start a family. Mention the email. I got to go back, Jack, and grab it. I will do that for you. I just forget. It's, hold on. Jack's email, I think it's looking for a wife. Oh, Jack at lookingforawife.xyz. If people want to get in touch with Jack, let's do it this way. Because Jack is an eligible man who listens to this show and therefore has impeccable values and logic and sense, including a sense of humor, obviously. And so if there are any women in the 18 to 25 age range who are looking to find someone suitable, if that's you and you'd like to give a shot, why don't you just, Jack, tell you what, why don't you email me so I have your email in my inbox, and if I receive any emails from suitable women, I will connect the two of you. And that way we don't have to try to remember the email address going forward. But I'm open to helping you out, man. And of course, like I said, in the future, as I reinstall some kind of community stuff for this version of the show and for my product, I hope to make this a little bit more easy and direct for you guys. But for now, Jack, send me an email. And any eligible women out there, also send me an email. We'll see if we can make a connection. Would not be the first time, by the way. If you're a person out there who's like, why is he going on and on about connecting someone for marriage or something? That sounds preposterous. It's very unlikely. However, there are many marriages and even children that have made initial connection or that are a result of various iterations of this stream. So it's certainly possible. And all it takes is one. You know, in my darkest days of wondering if I would find this particular path in my life, all it takes is one. And when you find one, you're done. Unless they screw you over, which happens, unfortunately. But hey, in theory, all you need is one. Okay. Thank you, Jack, and all the best. Let me see. I'm actually going to stop there, I think.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Let me, I'll grab a few on Odyssey and we'll take a break there. Over on Odyssey, the Critically Dreadful is posting memes complaining about the Giants. Now, I saw, most people don't care about football, I understand. I think the Broncos had something like a 30-point comeback against the Giants in the fourth quarter. So, I'm sorry for you Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo fans with the Giants, but that was a rough one by the look of it. That sucks. Blankets, thanks for supporting the show. Also posting about the memes about not caring about the leaked Telegram chat of the Young Republicans when there are murders of color happening all the time. Point taken. And memes about Halloween. Thank you for those.
At the end of the show, if we have time, I have thoughts on the chat, the leaked chat and all that.
Okay.
But I don't want to interrupt the flow.
Yeah, let's we'll call this there.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
And we'll get into the interview. But yeah, remind me when we're done. And if you got time, I got time. I'd like to hear what you think about it. But let's get into the interview. Of course, if you don't remember who Douglas Mackey is, you may remember Mackey as the guy who posted these vote Hillary by text memes in 2016. And then in 2021, the Biden DOJ came after him and they convicted him for conspiracy against rights charges, which coincidentally or intentionally became the actual charge against Trump in the Jack Smith special counsel January 6th case. Now, in July, Douglas Mackey's appeal on his conviction was successful. He's now a free man. So we talk about Mackey's trial, this kind of novel legal theory of his prosecution, why his conviction was erased on appeal, how the process damaged his life, and then what his plans are for the rest of his life coming up here now that he's free. Segment's about 29 minutes. See you on the other side.
Stand back and stand by.
Welcome back. My guest tonight is Douglas Mackey, the man who memed so hard in 2016 that the Biden DOJ came after him in 2021 and convicted him on conspiracy charges. But as of July, he has now defeated that conviction on appeal. Douglas, thank you for making time for me.
Thank you, Matt. Great to be here.
So for those of you who didn't, or for those in the audience who didn't follow the prosecution closely, can you just give us the quick version of the background? Why did the Biden Justice Department come after you?
So that's a great question. They came after me because I posted a meme about a week or two before the elections. It was just a humorous meme that was floating around on 4chan, said Hillary Clinton supporters. Well, basically you could skip the line, text your vote, and vote from home. Text Hillary to 59925. There you see it right there. And so this was the excuse for why they came after me. But I suspect they came after me because, number one, they were upset Trump won, and they thought that I was somebody who had influence over that election.
And so they at the DOJ bring a case that is about supposed conspiracy against rights, as in you engaged in a conspiracy with others to deprive people of their constitutional right to vote. And they bring that charge in federal court in New York, and they get a conviction. Am I characterizing what the charge was correctly?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And so you're convicted. You didn't spend any time in prison, right? You avoided prison time pending the appeal. Is that how this worked out?
Yes.
Okay, so you run the appeal through the Second Circuit, and ultimately in July, we get news from the Second Circuit that you had broken, that your appeal was successful, and this on lack of evidence grounds. So they accused you of being involved in a vast conspiracy against people's constitutional right to vote. The appeals court disagreed. Mm-hmm. On what basis did they disagree?
So, great question. There's, for anyone who knows a little bit of law, or even if you don't, there's elements of crimes. This crime, there were two elements. Number one, that you intended to deprive somebody of their rights. And the language of the statute is actually injure, intimidate, threaten, or oppress. So already they're torturing the statute by saying that posting a meme constitutes an injury, right? Number two, you have to conspire with others to for the goal. The goal would be to injure others in their right to vote. So those were the elements of the crime. Now, we didn't you don't when you do an appeal, you don't challenge everything, even if the government's case is weak in many ways. You kind of pick your top three. So one of our challenges was that they didn't prove that there was a conspiracy, and they didn't prove there was a conspiracy because there was no conspiracy, and they didn't have evidence of it. So they didn't have evidence, even though they introduced 50 group chats and 50 people, text messages, or actually Twitter DM messages, claiming they were co-conspirators. The judge let all of that into evidence based on the theory that they were co-conspirators. And at the end of the day, the court said that there was insufficient evidence that I even knew about this conspiracy or agreed to join it.
So I have some questions about the appeals court finding in that regard. I want to save those for a moment because I still think maybe there are some troublesome implications even to that. Of course, I think it's the correct conclusion that you are not convicted of what they accused you of. But just to get back to the reasoning here, if the appeals court seemed to think it was fairly obvious, was this a unanimous ruling from those judges?
This was a unanimous 3-0 bipartisan ruling.
So then on what basis do you think the jurors were persuaded at the trial court? That is to say, why did the jurors find this persuasive, but not the appeals court judges looking at this case later?
Well, good question. One is venue. The fact that they brought this case in Brooklyn, New York, which is where the EDNY is located. So I think that one of the issues is that we challenged the conviction on venue, actually, because there was no element of the crime that was committed within Brooklyn, New York, within the Eastern District of New York. So they brought this case where a jury would be inclined to view it this way. And unfortunately, after going through a jury trial, I can say that they're not always sophisticated. There were multiple jurors who didn't understand English. Well, I mean, they knew enough to answer a few questions during the jury selection. That's about it.
That actually came up on my stream the other day. My friend who I was streaming with said the same thing, and I was not aware of that part of this case. Do you think that jurors who barely understand English were selected for that reason, or is that just incidental? Well, I guess I can't understand why someone who hardly speaks English would be selected to be a juror in a case that is going to be argued in English.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I mean, first of all, when you do jury selection, it's in this incredibly diverse district, EDNY, which the magistrate judge and the other judges, they will celebrate. Oh, we're so diverse. Our district is so diverse. So when it comes up, these people, we only have a certain limited number of strikes. And when you're dealing with jury selection in the Eastern District of New York, it's very difficult to select who are the worst jurors for you. So these actually weren't even the worst jurors. Now, as you can imagine, on the other side, the government, they get fewer strikes in the defense. They struck 6 jurors that made it through jury selection. Obviously, some get dismissed for all kinds of reasons. The ones that can't even answer yes or no in English are dismissed. I think that the ones that can't even speak basic English beyond that should also be dismissed. But the magistrate judge will, they basically, they get like a sort of swell of pride when they see these recent immigrants come in that barely speak English, and they're like, oh, wow, doing his civic duty. And it's like, well, what about the defendant? What about the people that actually have to deal with these jurors and talk to them? And the government, as you can imagine, struck all English-speaking jurors, all white jurors, except for maybe one, maybe half mixed race or something. Five were men, and one was a white woman, and four were white men, I should say. And those were all struck by the prosecution. And we struck ones that were bad for us, either for ideological reasons, uh, demographic reasons, whatever. And we got stuck with some of these non-English speaking jurors. And look, I don't think that they really pay attention to the statute, to the elements of the crime. I think that they just kind of look at you and they think in their mind, well, guilty or not guilty. Or Friday afternoon rolls around and they're thinking, well, I don't want to come back here on Monday. That would be a huge pain in the ass. So unfortunately, that's the nature of of juries. If you get a bad one, I mean, look, I'm not saying they're all like this.
So as far as the venue, then obviously you win your appeal on the basis that there's a conspiracy is a necessary piece of the crime, as in people working together, and they couldn't prove that you worked with anybody, which is ultimately why you won on appeal. Did you bring the venue challenge at all to the appellate court, or was that just kind of a back pocket argument that you had planned on?
So we challenged on venue, that the venue was improper. We also challenged on the application of the statute, saying that this statute should not be used against what the government is calling misinformation, but what we are calling it, what common sense sane people should be calling, is parody or satire. How can a statute that was enacted to fight the KKK, who are traveling on the roads, on horses or whatever, wearing hoods, whether they're beating up or even killing people who are exercising their rights, and you're going to use a statute to say that a guy who sent a meme on the internet with no proof of a conspiracy with anybody else, and we can even talk about intent. I mean, I got up there on the witness stand and testified truthfully, saying that my intent in sharing this meme was that it was a funny joke, and I didn't believe that a single person would actually fall for it. The government, so that they didn't prove intent, in my opinion, but like I said, we just challenged on those three things: venue, application of the statute, and lack of evidence for a conspiracy.
And I'm glad you bring up that point on the application of the law. As far as I'm aware, and your lawyers I'm sure would probably know, this is a novel prosecution. When you say that this is a post-Civil War law that is designed to stop people from physically obstructing others from voting, I'm not aware of another application where the DOJ has determined or tried to demonstrate that posting something on the internet that might trick someone is an appropriate application of that law. Are you the first person they've done that to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The very first. And one of the things that they try to do to make the statute famous is, we'll use the hashtag. So that therefore it was targeted at Hillary Clinton supporters. I'm just saying, putting a meme out there into the ether, it's not like a paid ad. It's not like a mailer that goes to people's houses, or an email, or even a phone call to actual voters saying, just text your vote. It's just a meme that's posted on the internet.
Yeah, and as far as I'm aware, they were not able to produce a person who said, oh yeah, I had planned on voting for Hillary that day, but this meme tricked me into texting and I thought I had voted, but I didn't. You know that the resources of the DOJ were applied to finding such a person, and they were not able to, correct?
Correct. So that's one of the nefarious elements of this prosecution, is that they put it out there in their criminal complaint. 4,900 people texted the number. The New York Times took that and runs a headline: 4,900 Democrats are tricked. So we're saying we realize that they're playing word games here. They're playing a shell game. They're not alleging that any voters were tricked, just that they texted the number. And that's after the meme got a massive amount of publicity on websites like BuzzFeed, Wired, even on CNN. And so they're saying that all these people got tricked. Well, come to trial, we actually pressed the government to provide the discovery showing their efforts to interview voters who actually texted the number. And of course, they made efforts. They had to turn that over to discovery as exculpatory evidence because not a single one of those people that they went and interviewed, some of them didn't even remember texting it. Some of them said, "What do you think I am, an idiot? Of course I know you can't text my vote." So they couldn't produce a single voter. That would have been gold if they could put that voter on the witness stand during the trial, even though there's no they don't need to prove that there was a victim to win a conviction under a conspiracy statute. However, if they could have done that, that would have been really good for their case. That would have really convinced the jury, and they couldn't do that because, like I said, nobody would believe this. I don't think so.
So the government is unable to demonstrate a conspiracy, as in you cooperating with other people to pursue this goal of tricking people. That's a necessary piece of the statute or a necessary piece under the law to get the conviction. And so you're victorious on appeal under that reasoning. That makes perfect sense to me. One thing I worry about, though, and maybe you have some insight on this as far as the court ruled, let's say that the facts were different. Let's say that they showed that you were on a Discord server and you contacted your graphic designer friend and said, "Hey man, I've got a cool idea for a funny meme. Will you draw it up for me?" And he does, and you put it out there, and it's exactly the same. And they have the exact same evidence with 5,000 people texting it. Unclear if anybody was actually tricked out of their vote or not, or they can't produce anybody. Under the statute as written and applied in this case, would you then have theoretically been guilty?
Yeah, that's a problem we don't know. No, there was an individual who's sort of the sucker in this whole thing, who was pressed by the government into cooperation, even though he testified exactly he interviewed with the government and told them the exact opposite, that this was not a conspiracy. Basically, his early interviews with the government exactly jived with my testimony, that this was just a joke. It was not a conspiracy. And it's a little bit of stirring the water, also provoking the Hillary Clinton campaign. However, by the time trial rolled around, they had pressed him into their service. So he said exactly what they wanted him to say, and he pled guilty. So he's kind of the sucker in all of this because his conviction stands as of now. The appeals court, what they do is when they're looking at one of these appeals, is they don't necessarily rule on every element of the appeal. So in my case, I suppose they started with looking at to see if the evidence was sufficient, right? Because if the evidence is insufficient, that ends the case, and they don't have to rule on venue. They don't have to rule on application of the law. So unfortunately, they did not rule on that. It's good for me because it's a complete vindication. It's a judgment of acquittal. But in a sense, it's not necessarily great for the country because we don't have resolution to that question. If this happened again and they had, let's say, damning evidence of a person being actually in a conspiracy to post a meme with other people, then we would have the same exact appeal all over again, and the courts would have to make a decision on that.
Yeah, and I think there's good reason to worry about the stretching of the application of this statute. Reason being, the charge against you, conspiring against rights under this post-Civil War statute, is the same charge that Jack Smith, special counsel, brought against Donald Trump for January 6th activities, if I'm correct. So do you think that your charge was a test case maybe for Trump himself or just for the broader application of this law to see what they could do to crack down on political opposition?
It was a test case, and mine was the first because this case hadn't been brought, this statute hadn't been applied in probably since 2007. But in any case, they, after bringing this case against me, yes, they brought it against Donald Trump, as we know. They brought it against pro-lifers, which is an outrage in and of itself, people who were protesting outside of an abortion clinic. And we can get into that if you want. They brought it against the pro-lifers, and they scored convictions there. And some of these convictions led to lengthy jail sentences. There was a woman who was called the ringleader of the effort to pray outside an abortion clinic. Maybe somebody was obstructed from entering for 2 minutes, and they gave her 40-something months in prison. And of course, this was in DC. So this was a test case. Unfortunately, the left will still be able to abuse this statute.
I don't know exactly that case. I'm sure I've probably seen it in passing somewhere. Do you remember what year that was?
That was after my case, which uh, was brought in 21. So they would have filed those indictments and gotten those convictions during the Biden regime. So somewhere between 21 and 24.
The reason I ask is because conspiracy against rights, I assume in that application would be conspiring against the right to an abortion.
Yeah.
Of course, that so-called constitutional right was overturned in 22. And so I just wonder how that would play out legally if the constitutional right that is the core of that allegation was actually undone legally. Would the charge still stick? I'll have to look up. Do you remember any of the names or where I could find information on that case?
So I just met one of the people who was victimized by the statue. Her name is Bev Williams, I believe, and I hope I'm getting her name right. Well, she's a great lady, and her name is Bev Williams, I believe. But the outrage about this is that, number one is abortion healthcare, because the government would say, well, they were blocking access to a healthcare facility, being whatever, Planned Parenthood. So is that abortion healthcare? Who knows, first of all. And obviously the left would say abortion is healthcare. Obviously I would say no, it isn't. But the crazy thing is that they prosecuted under the FACE Act, which is about sort of obstructing these sort of places. And to actually pass this law, the Democrats made some compromises with the Republicans, saying that, well, if you obstruct, let's say, a church or any kind of healthcare facility, then you can be prosecuted as well. And they said first-time offenders would not see prison under this law, under the FACE Act. So what the Biden administration did, that was so wrong and so against the spirit of this law, is they stacked a conspiracy against rights charge on this so that those people would face prison time as first-time offenders. It's really insane. And in a sense, it's great for these people that they were pardoned by Donald Trump, but in the same time, you kind of wish this application of the law was challenged, and so those appeals obviously were terminated when they got the pardon.
Yeah, well, we're hearing so much about the weaponization of the Justice Department and the legal system generally. Imagine a country where such a thing happened. Of course, you and the people you've met with obviously don't have to imagine such a thing. I want to talk about the impact on your life in just a moment, but before we move on from the specifics of the case, you have announced that you are suing in response. This after you were victorious on appeal. So I assume you would be suing the Justice Department, or who would you sue?
Yeah. So the way it works is you bring a claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act, which is a suit against the DOJ. So that's the first step. So we're going to bring a claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act and hopefully resolve it without litigation. Spoke about this on Donald Trump Jr.'s show and some other shows. But we are encouraged by the Trump administration's efforts to roll back weaponization. So we are encouraged by that, and we are optimistic that they are going to seek a settlement to sort of redress the wrongs that were done under Joe Biden.
And my other question about this is, maybe I misunderstand, but was the Trump DOJ still fighting for this case on appeal? Or is it just it goes through because you had already appealed? Or what was the role of the Trump DOJ in the appeal itself?
So the Trump DOJ played no role. This case was this appeal was filed in January of 2014, and this appeal was
24,
heard,
right?
2024, right? Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
This appeal was heard at oral argument April of 2024. So we explored the idea of asking the Trump administration to either try to undo the conviction or drop the case, and it was pending for so long, like 14 months. We decided that it wouldn't actually be worth our time because in this kind of a case, the government, the court can, if the government, let's say they wanted to withdraw all of their arguments and say, actually, we're going to oppose this prosecution, the court can still appoint an amicus curiae or whatever it's called. So they can appoint someone to argue the government's position on their behalf. So this just would have wasted more time and money. And so it was better just to let the appeal play out. So the Trump DOJ played no role.
Okay, that is good to clarify, because I was confused by that. I thought, was the Trump DOJ still fighting for this in court? Apparently not. So I'm glad to know that.
Right.
One of the things we keep hearing in warning us about the dangers of weaponizing the legal system is that the process is the punishment. Even if you don't get the conviction and you don't put a person in prison, that the process itself is punishing. And of course, you have lived that over the course of the last few years of your life. You didn't spend a day in prison, but can you tell us about how the process was punishing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. You could just imagine I get indicted on this case. Now, at the time, I'd had no money. So I'm like, how am I going to retain a lawyer? I'm thinking, well, I'm going to fight this with a public defender. What am I going to do? Fortunately, I had some benefactors come in and just gave me the bare minimum to retain an attorney. And then we started fundraising. So the fundraising, the stress of fighting this case, not knowing the outcome, was incredibly taxing. The effect it had just on my own ability to be self-employed and be productive. Now, I also had a relationship at the time, and we delayed getting married because we were thinking, well, what are we going to do here? And eventually, as this dragged on, we finally said, well, we can't wait any longer. We'll be old. We could be old men and women by the time this is over. So we went ahead, and did the wedding 2 years after the indictment. And then we got the trial date, which was 2 months after the wedding. So the amount of money that this cost, I mean, we're just talking about purely emotionally and mentally draining, but the amount of money this cost we're talking north of $2 million. And wow. I didn't fundraise all of that. I still owe a lot of money for attorneys. So, I mean, we're not able to fundraise $2 million at this cost on appeal. So I still owe money. And then not only so, just think about the strain on that. And then my wife and I found out that my wife is going to have a baby on the eve of trial. Now, 9 months later, so happened that the sentencing date was October 17th of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting that right? Yes, 2023. And my wife had to be hospitalized. And I flew up to New York. And while I was in New York, as soon as I landed, then I get the news, well, there's going to need to be an emergency C-section at 8 p.m. tonight. I don't have enough time really to jump on an airplane and turn around and go down. So we went forth with the sentencing the next morning, and I missed the birth of my son, my first son. And, I had to come back that day and go back to the hospital. And then it just keeps dragging on and on. The appeal dragged on for so long. That was very stressful, even though it was a very happy day for me personally, not just for the country when Donald Trump won re-election, because we knew that because Donald Trump was vocal in opposing this prosecution and actually spoke about it multiple times. So we were very confident with that. Still the same, thinking, am I going to have to go to the Supreme Court? But I mean, the real mental toll here was on myself and my family, especially my wife. And the financial toll was crazy, but thankfully a lot of patriots kicked in to help fund that defense.
I'm sorry to hear that the birth of your son was stolen from you in that way. And I think that's a perfectly valid claim given the outcome of the court case. That is acknowledgement that all of this was wrongful from the start. But I hope mom and baby are healthy, and it's a good story since then, yeah?
Yeah, so my son, he was born premature. He has a lot of issues, but he's recovered in a great way, and he's got a great spirit. So mom's healthy, the baby's in good health, all things considered.
Speaking of Trump and his response to this case, you mentioned that the victory in the appeals court is the functional equivalent of an acquittal.
Yeah.
Is there any need for a pardon, or is a pardon, would that do anything in this case?
Actually, no, because this case was not just dismissed. This case was sent down to the district court with an order for judgment of acquittal under the grounds that no rational jury could have come to the conclusion that there should be a conviction.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just the conviction was vacated and a judgment of acquittal was entered, which doesn't which is so rare. I mean, that's almost unbelievable that this happened. And that's a big basis for our suit because, look, we had FBI agents signing off on sworn affidavits. The prosecution could have dropped this case. They brought it to trial. They mentally tortured some poor guy into being a cooperator and all that. And they didn't have the evidence for a conviction. So that never should have happened. And, that's why we're suing.
Well, that's my guest, Douglas Mackey. You can follow him on X at Doug Mackey Case. You can support his ongoing legal efforts at memedefensefund.com. Douglas, is there anything else you'd like to promote?
No, just the X and the Meme Defense Fund. We haven't won any big lawsuits yet, so we still need money to pay off debts and everything else. So memedefensefund.com, and be on the lookout for something called the Weaponization Watch. Myself, Cynthia Hughes, and some others are going to be fighting against government weaponization. And you can check that out at the Patriot Freedom Project website, Cynthia Hughes website. So we're going to be announcing stuff on that. Believe it or not, there are still Biden prosecutions that are still working their way through the system, weaponized prosecutions, I should add, weaponization against Trump supporters or just innocent Americans or conservatives. Not always the same, but they're still working their way through the court system. So we're going to be bringing these cases to the attention of the Trump DOJ and the White House because they're fighting so hard against weaponization, but they need some outside assistance because there's still a lot of swamp that needs to be purged. And I know they're working on it, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're staying in the fight, and thank you for that. And if you have updates in the developments going on there, you are welcome to come back and discuss those anytime. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt.
Stand back and stand by.
Thanks again to my guest, Douglas Mackey. Follow him on X at Doug Mackey Case. Help him in the fight at memedefensefund.com, linked in the description for your convenience. Robert, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the interview, but did you have any thoughts on what Doug Mackey had to say?
I cannot believe that he won an appeal on effectively a judgment notwithstanding the verdict. That is exceedingly rare. So I don't know, I'm sure you deal with this all the time, but people listening might not realize that courts of appeal only review issues of law, okay? At least generally speaking. So at the trial court level, that's where you get all of the flashy stuff. You get the testimony, you get the evidence, you get the gun in a baggie or whatever, all of that. Whenever you go to the appeals level, there is no evidence. They just look at the record. They look at what happened at the trial court level. And they only review issues of law, like I said, like they interpret the law. And so in 99 out of 100 times, if you go to the Court of Appeals and you complain about what the jury did, not the judge, what the jury did, the Court of Appeals will say, hey, we don't do that. The jury, in a sense, is always right.
And the jury in this case is evaluating the evidence. Was that what they did, quote unquote?
Well, yeah, that's how a trial court works. Assuming that there is a jury, because there's not always a jury. It depends on the venue, the kind of case, and all these things. But the juries, they are deciding the issues of fact. So the jury is always deciding what happened, and the judge is the one deciding the issues of law. And so again, when this goes to appeals, like a Court of Appeals almost never, that is not an exaggeration, will mess with what the jury did. For the Court of Appeals to actually intervene, it has to rise to an unbelievable level. And your guest said it exactly right. The Court of Appeals has to find that no reasonable jury could have come to this conclusion.
Yeah.
Not that they think the jury was wrong. No, that literally no jury
They were implicitly unreasonable. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so, wow, I mean,
I know that you don't deal with criminal law and that's not your area, but have you ever heard of an appeal successful in this way?
I mean, this also happens in civil cases. So, but let me just say this: like, it is exceedingly rare. If somebody told me that's my one chance on appeals, I would just say, then you've lost. Like, I wouldn't even consider it to be within the realm of possibilities.
But yeah, we're so worried about weaponization of the law now. Never mind the weaponization that was, I don't know, a few days ago.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
Speaking of weaponization of the law, unless you had more you wanted to add to that, I'm not trying to cut you off. I just, you know how I love my transitions when they're smooth, so I'm trying to achieve it. But don't look at the weaponization 4 days ago, 5 days ago. Continue to focus on the alleged weaponization today. We know what they're doing to our beloved Jim Comey and Letitia James. And now everybody loves John Bolton, too, even though he was a warmonger under George W. Bush and continue to do that under Trump. Now, I'm not even necessarily applying that accusation myself. I'm saying the same people who hated him for those reasons then view him as a victim of the alleged king with his Burger King crown, Donald Trump. The Bolton case is very interesting, though, because Bolton is saying, so Bolton was national security advisor under Trump from 2018 to 2019. He was UN ambassador under George W. Bush, 2005 and 2006. And now there is a classified documents prosecution coming against him. He now faces 18 charges federally for the retention of classified documents beyond his authorization, and as we'll get to, the distribution. And for whatever excuses you could make about confusion in either of those, the way these were distributed seems very difficult to justify or explain away. These even Hillary is like, put that guy in jail. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so John Bolton, he's a menace, a right-wing menace, until suddenly he's allegedly targeted by Trump, and now we're supposed to feel sympathetic for him. But John Bolton, of course, he has this reputation for being hawkish on foreign policy, and people on the right and the left hate him for that. The interesting thing for Trump in this scenario here is it's a politically motivated attack on Bolton, we're supposed to believe. And I don't doubt that Trump has political motivations for going after John Bolton. John Bolton cashed in on an anti-Trump book as soon as he was out of there, and that's at the heart of this case. So that is true. I think any honest person would have to acknowledge it, but two things can be true in that there can be political motive in bringing the case, and also the guy did a lot of stuff. Like, it can be a politically motivated, valid case. And I'm not even saying the Comey and Letitia James cases are invalid, but this appears to have a lot of strengths in the facts and in the application of the law that maybe those cases are lacking. You can let me know if you disagree as we go through it, Robert. But as far as the facts and allegations against John Bolton here, prosecutors say that the day before he became national security advisor under Donald Trump, John Bolton started a group chat. So he starts up a group chat with his wife and daughter for the Diary of the Future. Wow, this is going to be a very interesting group chat, huh? Now, needless to say, his wife and daughter, they don't have security clearances, so they're not supposed to be writing this diary, looking at this diary, really even talking about this diary. Certainly not receiving diary entries by text message, group chat, whatever messaging service this was using. But how was this transmission taking place? During his time in office, John Bolton was taking apparently thousands of pages of notes, handwritten notes, which makes sense. You have an advisory job to the president. You're going to take notes on all the important things that are discussed at all these meetings so that you can correctly and wisely advise the president in the future based on the content of those meetings. Well, John Bolton was transcribing these handwritten notes into word processor documents, and he was relaying portions of this material. So he's writing up his notes about discussions of classified material. He's typing it up, and then he's sending it to his wife and daughter. And Obviously, his wife and daughter are not authorized to receive this classified material. He's using unsecured private methods of communication. Now, he did have a storage system in his home for the storage of classified material, which he was authorized to store and view because that's the nature of his job. But a lot of this is about retention after the fact, of course. Once he's no longer national security advisor, his home classified document retention system goes away, and he's not supposed to be holding on to these classified documents, certainly not in unsecure systems like this group chat, or he was also transmitting materials through his email account. I believe it was Gmail or AOL or both. So this is not, the government email system either.
Good question. Are the wife and daughter individuals 1 and 2?
Yeah, that's what is reported. And the indictment does say that they are relatives of Bolton. The indictment doesn't say his wife and daughter, but it's in the news reports. That's who they are. And implicitly or just contextually in the indictment, it reads that way. I just don't know which one is which. I don't know which one is his wife and 2 is his daughter or vice versa, but I don't know that it necessarily matters either. No. So this all becomes an issue because Bolton's defense is going to center around his book. And really his book and the way he left the White House is the heart of his dispute with Donald Trump. He leaves the White House. He writes this book called The Room Where It Happened, I think is the title of it. And of course, he's going to talk about a lot of sensitive conversations in this book. Now, as part of the publication of that book, John Bolton had submitted his manuscript or submitted the text of his book to the government for a review of whether this could be published or not. There was some back and forth. Eventually, he got clearance after a couple different reviews, apparently. And so John Bolton is going to be saying, well, yeah, I mean, this was all actually reviewed by the government and I had the clearance to publish it. So if I have the clearance to publish it, how am I in trouble? The problem is the materials that the government is citing in the indictment are actually not in the book. So he's going to have to explain that. He has several aggravating factors in this situation. Unlike the Comey and Letitia James prosecutions, this one is not really ticky-tack stuff necessarily. This is about pretty big stuff. It's not just about possessing the classified documents like, oh, I gave him my system that stored the documents, but silly me, I forgot that I had some handwritten notes in that cabinet and whoopsie. It's not just about the possession of them. It's distributing the documents. He did it in this group chat. Or he distributed portions of his notes, at least, if not the entirety of the notes that he had taken. He did it by email. The other piece is he apparently knew, or his wife and daughter knew, that he wasn't supposed to be doing this, because he's relaying some of this information. Individuals 1 and 2, his wife and daughter, follow up with a message that says, none of which we talk about, of course. And then his wife or daughter responds with or Bolton sent that, none of which we talk about. Hey, here's some stories from my experience at the White House, none of which we talk about, but I'm creating a permanent record of in unauthorized fashion here. In response, the wife or the daughter says, shh, I mean, you're aware of the sketchy stuff that you're doing here. So I don't know if intent is actually a necessary part of the crime here, but there's clearly intent or knowledge of what's going on demonstrated in the group chat. So you have not just possession, you have distribution, you have a certain level of awareness that you know exactly what you're doing. And he's promising more stuff coming too. He's saying, oh, you like this story? There's way more where that came from. Meanwhile, wife and daughter are like, okay, man, shh. I don't know if you should be saying stuff like that. Now, it's even worse than that, Robert, because, of course, the danger for classified material is that all sorts of sources, methods, the way the government collects information, especially in the foreign context gets put at risk. And when that stuff is put at risk, the enemies of our country may kill people. They may have information that allows them to do great damage to us across the globe or even potentially domestically. When this information is revealed, it creates life and death risk for certain people. That's why it is classified. That's why it's not supposed to be distributed in sketchy ways. It is the fear that our adversaries will obtain it and do bad things with it. And it looks like that's exactly what happened with John Bolton's diary entries. He actually contacted the FBI in 2021 and said, hey, I think that that someone in the Iranian government actually obtained. Let me pull that one up. I think I'm missing that that particular piece of the indictment here. Yeah, let me grab that one. Someone in the Iranian government actually obtained my Storytime entries. And I know this because I've received an email threatening blackmail against me. And they're going to reveal the contents of my book. And there was an investigation. The FBI was looking into that. But John Bolton did not tell them, number one, that this email that he believed was hacked by Iranian agents actually contained classified information. And he also apparently did not tell them about the blackmail threat. He didn't give them all the information he had about what had happened with his email hack here. So it's not just the fear for John Bolton of what might happen because he's so loose with classified information. It apparently is the reality that Iranian agents obtained the material, and therefore we don't know what that maybe enabled them to do or not, but it certainly gave them a window into the inside operations of the first Trump administration. So those are the allegations, the claims of fact. Of course, I will qualify and say this is as presented by the Justice Department. We don't know exactly what John Bolton's defense will be, but especially given the content of the back and forth messages about shh, and we don't talk about this. Good luck, John Bolton, because Trump doesn't like me and this is a political act. That's not going to be a sufficient defense. I don't know if you can see a plausible defense angle given these facts, assuming they're accurate, Robert, but this is much more than just, I don't like that guy, go get him.
Yes. I think kind of for context, people need to realize that rank and file employees who have done much less than what's alleged here have gone to jail for freaking forever. Okay. So if anybody's looking at this going, oh, they're only prosecuting this guy because they don't like him. No. You can just Google this. There are plenty of cases of more kind of lower level government employees who have done much less. They've sent maybe one email with classified information who will go to jail for a long, long time. So if Bolton does not go to jail, in fact, it will be a horrific double standard, number one. But where I think Bolton is really screwed, and this comes out in the indictment, is that, for his book, he knew the correct process. And the indictment uses this as evidence. It says essentially, look, when he wants to follow proper procedure, he does. And so that's what really gets him, is the fact that he would do it correctly when he wanted to, and then he would do it incorrectly when he wanted to. And to me, that's kind of inescapable evidence. I don't see how he could be acquitted.
He's also not giving us a clear picture of what his defense will be. Now, I get it. He was indicted on Thursday, and he was in court on Friday. We're very early in the process. I imagine his lawyers are working with him to craft the best defense they can. And just because he doesn't have it day one doesn't mean he doesn't have it. However, what they're saying publicly, he's not compelled to speak publicly either. The defense he's offering publicly is, I'm just another victim of Trump's weaponization and a rogue Justice Department. And again, I actually grant that point. The Biden DOJ passed on going after Bolton. They decided they either didn't want to or they viewed the evidence as insufficient. Trump comes into office and he does this. I'm sure the fact that John Bolton wrote an anti-Trump tell-all and made money off of that is not appreciated by Donald Trump and his staff. They could be impure in their motivations, but that does not mean that the facts that have been uncovered and the application of the law is incorrect. And as far as I can see, he has no defense on that basis, either on the facts or the application of the law. He just has, Trump is being mean to me. That's not going to work. Maybe if he gets the friendliest jury in the world. But the thing that I don't understand about John Bolton, and maybe you have some insight in this, Robert, is to me, this is just like an eyebrow raiser. Really? He really did this? Because it's so brazen for a guy like you said that knows exactly what he's doing. Why would he do that? Is it just that he's so sloppy and cocky he doesn't think that he'll ever actually be held to account in this way, that his number one motivation is the authorship of this book and cashing out on Trump hate, and who cares, nobody's going to get me? I just for a guy who knows exactly how this process works, like you said, even if that is your attitude, why not just do it by the book so you don't open this door of possibility against yourself. I don't understand I guess I don't understand the motive of the family group chat. Why? Or is it just convenience with the private email, or what is motivating him to do this?
Absolutely. He was above the law. And he was until Trump. This is the Hillary Clinton situation with the server at home. I mean, Hillary Clinton should have gone to jail forever for the next 1,000 years. And I know that didn't happen. And that really was a horrific injustice because, again, lower level employees, federal employees, have gone to jail for many years for minor infractions. But it's kind of the same question. Why would somebody like Hillary Clinton dare set up this server at home and then put classified information? Because she was above the law, and so was Bolton. It never crossed their mind that somebody might become president one day who might hold him to account. And so now his only defense is to cry to the public and say, oh, Trump is being mean to me. I would do the same. It is, in fact, the smartest strategy. Because if that doesn't work, he 100% committed a crime. Like, it's a done deal.
Well, hope he has a favorable jury selection because he's going to need it, apparently.
Absolutely.
He did plead not guilty on Friday. If convicted, he faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine per count. And I believe that's each. So he faces 10 years per charge, and there are 18 of them. So in theory, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. That's not my prediction, but it's possible if a sentence were handed down under the law as it's written. His next court date is November 21st. There's no trial date set yet. So we'll see how this one develops. You have any other Bolton thoughts?
No, I hope that he's convicted. No, because I have something against him. I mean, whether I like him or not is irrelevant, is what I'm saying. But I have hated this for a long time, that it seems like lower level employees get nailed for this, but the higher ups don't. And I thought in our system, no one was above the law. And for once, I would like for that to be true.
Just John Bolton, Jim Comey, Letitia James, and every illegal who's ever crossed the border. Other than that, no one is above the law.
That's right.
In other legal news, politically motivated Trump legal moves, Trump commuted the sentence of former New York Republican Congressman George Santos on Friday. And George Santos is now out making videos on Candid again, and he was on news programs over the weekend. Before we get into the commutation, is that the word? Is that the lawyerly word, commutation of his sentence?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Let's remind ourselves why George Santos was in federal prison in the first place. So in summer of 2024, Santos pleaded guilty to federal wire fraud and aggravated identity theft charges. He admitted to deceiving his campaign donors and stealing the identities of nearly a dozen people, including family members, to fund his congressional campaign. His plea deal included agreeing to pay about $580,000 in penalties and restitution. And in April, he was sentenced to 87 months in prison, or 7 years, 3 months. And that was something of a harsh sentence. I'm not sure if it was the max, but it was a tough sentence because the district court judge on the case says Santos wasn't sufficiently remorseful. She said at sentencing, "Where's your remorse? Where do I see it? It's always someone else's fault." Now, George Santos did apologize at the sentencing. He said he was humbled and understood that he had betrayed his constituents' trust, but not apologetic enough for the judge's liking, so he got a pretty stiff sentence. And it sounds like he's been treated pretty harshly in prison too. He actually just published an op-ed in his local Long Island newspaper where he's from and where he was a representative in Congress. And he wrote about being held in solitary confinement in this federal prison in New Jersey where he was. He had been there since July. And this op-ed that he wrote in the paper apparently was persuasive to Trump himself. Now, fellow congressman or former fellow congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been lobbying Trump personally on Santos's behalf, saying he got treated very harshly by virtue of being a Republican. Not only is the sentence harsh, but he's in solitary in federal prison, and they're treating him very harshly because of his politics. And so all of this leads to Friday, and Trump on Truth Social announces that he has commuted Santos's sentence. And if you don't know what that term means, it means that's enough prison. You have been punished enough. He's not excused of the crime. The conviction stands. He just gets out of prison. And so now he's been sufficiently punished and he's out of prison. On Truth Social on Friday, Trump made this announcement, and he says that that Santos has been horribly mistreated. Sure, he did some bad things, but he had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to vote Republican. Good luck, George, and have a good life. Have a great life, in fact, is how it closes. And Trump actually made this about Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. He says what Santos did is nowhere near as bad as Blumenthal and his history. Trump, of course, has dubbed him Da Nang Dick.
That's disgusting.
Sounds like what happens when you encounter a ladyboy in Vietnam. Watch out, that's Da Nang Dick. No, it's Richard Blumenthal and his lies about his Vietnam military service. Now, I don't know everything about Richard Blumenthal stolen valor accusations. Are you familiar with those, Robert?
No, I can barely remember something about it.
Okay. According to Trump's characterization, Da Nang Dick said he did all these heroic things in Vietnam, but Trump says he didn't even go to Vietnam. So
I think that came out in time, right? Like that he had not even been there. I don't know. I don't remember well enough to speak about it.
The old classic Nathan Phillips. You remember Nathan Phillips, the drumming Indian man in the face of the Covington Catholic kid, Nick Sandman. Mm-hmm. That he, back in my Nam days, he would tell the story about how he was in Nam, and it turned out he was in the Marine Corps for like a year way after Vietnam, and he was a mechanic who fixed refrigerators, but then he got dishonorably discharged because he sucked at that, and I don't know what he did, but man, this back in my Nam days narrative is a popular one for guys who did not, in fact, have any Nam days, it seems. But sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is a brilliant marketing technique, though, what Trump did.
Da Nang Dick?
Well, the idea of like saying, hey, I'm commuting the sentence for George Santos, which he knows is going to be used as political fodder by the left. And so he gets ahead of it. He gets ahead of it by saying, well, he's not as bad as this other guy from the left. He's
not as bad as who?
That guy.
Da Nang who? All right, fine.
But honestly, he could have put anyone there, but it immediately like puts the left on their toes. So, and I'm not saying that this is like right or whatever. I'm just saying strategically, brilliant move here by President Trump.
Maybe you're selling me, because when I saw this announcement, I thought, what are you doing? I mean, okay, because I'm not a Santos fan, but it's not just that it's not a personal thing. The guy lies all the time. It's not just the fraud that he committed here financially. Allegations of charging people for campaign contributions they didn't actually intend to make, stealing identities in pursuit of obtaining campaign contributions. His campaign was all lies about his own biography. There are dozens of them. He was gay and Jewish at some point? Or is this? I think he's still gay, but not Jewish. I think his famous line was, "I said I was Jew-ish, not Jewish." Oh, of course. Yeah. And did he at some point set up an OnlyFans, or did I dream that up? I don't. He does Cameo, the service where it's kind of like isolated Superchats. Someone sends you $20 and tells you to say this, and you send them a video saying that. He does that. I don't think he does OnlyFans. And I know he does a podcast. It's called Pants on Fire with George Santos, which is applicable because that guy's pants are flaming, not just because he lies, but on account of how gay he is. Of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. The guy really, he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy for sure. I agree with you there. But I mean, if Trump wants to commute the sentence of this guy, he at least strategically was smart about it. But I can't believe he was being put in solitary confinement. Like what was this guy doing in prison? Well, and when I thought about this and tried to understand why are we wasting political capital on this guy who is deserving of none? Well, okay, again, multiple things can be true at once. This guy can be a bad guy who committed acts of fraud and who lies a lot. There also could be a political motive in a harsh sentence and harsh treatment in prison during that sentence. We have a lot of violent offenders in this country who don't even get 7 years in prison, who aren't necessarily put in solitary either. Yeah. So, and then I thought, well, again, why waste political capital on this guy? Is it even really political capital, though? That is to say, is Trump more of a Nazi to the left because of this? Probably not. For all the people who maybe have some eyebrows raised about why you would do this, myself included, does it fundamentally change your political calculation? Probably not. So maybe I'm overestimating the sort of political capital, if any, that would even be spent on something like this. The only question I have beyond just why are we going out of our way to help a guy who's a lying fraudster is what's going to happen with restitution here. Because you can make the argument that his prison sentence is harsh and he doesn't belong in solitary, but by his own admission, his own guilty plea and things he's said describing what happened, he stole a lot of money from people. And part of his sentence is to return the money to those people to make them whole. He still owes something like $474,000. And my problem with this is that now George Santos is going on CNN and he was asked, hey, are you going to still give that money back, the money that you stole from all those people? And now he's saying, well, if the law compels me to, I will. But if it doesn't, then I won't.
Well, this is about a fine. I mean, this is about paying money back. And whether you describe them as victims or just donors to the NRCC, what the court said is that they should get their money back. Will you work to try to do that?
Well, look, I can do my best to do whatever the law requires of me. So I don't know what that is. I've been out of prison for 2 days. I agreed to come here to speak with you candidly and openly and not to obfuscate. If it's required of me by the law, yes. If it's not, then no. I will do whatever the law requires me to do.
Well, if you are serious about being remorseful and reforming and moving beyond this bad episode in your life, I know that's a big ask. Like, hey, you got $370,000 sitting around, especially after your reputation has been destroyed, to repay these people. I know that's easier said than done. But to me, I have to question that answer too. Well, I'll do it if I'm compelled to. You admitted that you stole it. Why wouldn't you say something like, hey, listen, it's going to be very tough, but I'm going to do what I can to correct this. I don't think I was treated fairly in prison, but I do think the people who I defrauded deserve some sort of remedy.
Oddly, his answer was so honest, like more honest than anybody else would give.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
Yeah, anyone else would be exactly like that. Would be like, yes, I'll try, even if secretly they don't mean to. This guy was like 1,000% honest. If I have to, if not, whatever. Lol.
Well, it's been a show for George Santos the whole time, and I'm sure the show will continue on Cameo and his podcast. And well, if he's in a podcast, maybe I'll just get him on the show. Maybe I can have a conversation with old George, and we can figure this out. All right, I still have plenty to talk about, Robert. So I hope as always, if you have things to do, you say the word. And I know you want to talk a little bit about the chat leak from the Young Republicans too. So I'll try to be efficient here, but I do want to get into the New York City mayoral race, because that's coming up on November 4th. And it looks more and more like New York City will, in fact, vote for an actual Muslim communist in Zoran Mamdani. The only hope against that is former Governor Andrew Cuomo, but he is still splitting the vote with the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, I think is how you say his name. And the three had a debate on Thursday night. Whether you agree with Mamdani or not, I certainly do not. I don't think he did anything to lose support. I don't think Cuomo did anything to do any significant damage to Mamdani. But here are some of the debate highlights on the issues of governing experience that Cuomo's trying to hit Mamdani on. Israel-Hamas got a lot of the debate time. And then my favorite line of attack, is Mamdani actually Muslim enough?
This is no job for on-the-job training. And if you look at the failed mayors, they're ones that had no management experience. Don't do it again.
I have the experience of having served in the New York State Assembly for 5 years and watching a broken political system. And what all of that experience has shown me, which Mr. Cuomo can't seem to understand, is that it is far too expensive and far too hard for New Yorkers to afford to live in this city.
He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother. You could have a hurricane, you have, God forbid, a 9/11, a health pandemic.
And if we have a health pandemic, then why would New Yorkers turn back to the governor who sent seniors to their death in nursing homes?
The assemblyman still won't say he believes that Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state. He is a divisive personality.
I've said time and again that I recognize Israel's right to exist. I've said that I will not recognize any states. I said that I will not.
As a Jewish state.
If I would be allowed to finish, that I would not recognize any state's right to exist with a system of hierarchy on the basis of race or religion.
I don't think in any way the assemblyman is representative of the Muslim community. Many of his positions don't even follow the Muslim faith.
You know, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate in the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. It's been an hour and 20 minutes of this debate, and we haven't heard Governor Cuomo say the word affordability. That's why he lost the primary.
Cuomo didn't even deploy his best line of attack.
He touched young people.
Never forget, Mamdani touched young people, and Andrew Cuomo didn't even bring it up. So, but on the points, I forgot to put this in my notes here, but I want to bring it up before I forget about it. I thought the line that Mamdani said of, they're talking about Israel and Hamas, which, number one, why is that really an issue for a New York City mayoral debate, other than there's a large Jewish population there? So I guess you're trying to frame Mamdani as anti-Jewish and score points there, I suppose, is the relevance, even though, of course, they really have nothing to do with the foreign policy on the Israel-Hamas war. But Mamdani had that line in there about recognizing Israel. He said, I don't recognize any state that makes distinctions or has hierarchies based on race or identity or faith, something to that effect.
Yeah.
I thought, that can't possibly. You don't recognize the existence of any countries on the globe that do that? Because there are quite a lot that do that.
All of the Islamic ones.
Well, maybe... yeah, I guess Andrew Cuomo had a point. He's not Muslim enough. He needs to come around on that point. But I thought that was Andrew Cuomo has been reduced to trying to say to Muslims, look at this guy. He's not Muslim enough. You have to trust me, the Italian boob toucher, to stand up for your interests. But I really thought that overall this is a miss for Cuomo, even though if I was his campaign advisor, I guess gut reaction, I'd say the same thing. Listen, you have to run on experience. That's what this is. You have to make him as a dangerous, unpredictable person without any relevant experience. You're the guy, even if you dislike Andrew Cuomo, you know what you're going to get. Okay, the problem is politically, we've seen that many different times. Like, what was the line of attack against Barack Obama? I'm not saying that Mamdani is as talented of a politician as Barack Obama was, but you got John McCain and the rest of them saying, I don't know, he lacks experience. In the battle of issue philosophy versus experience, issue philosophy wins, I think, pretty much all the time, especially if the experience nobody really liked that much. I don't know that Cuomo has this big fan base, but when Mamdani is out there saying, listen, you're talking about whether I'm experienced or not, I want to talk about affordability. And for a lot of New Yorkers, that's correct. You can't afford housing. You can't afford all the various costs of living. Now, I think you're a complete idiot if you think that this guy who's going to install price controls on rent and have city-owned grocery stores is going to lower your cost of living. But on the general idea of emphasizing issues over resume points, biographical points, I think Mamdani's team is correct in shifting the emphasis that way. I think that Cuomo's attacks just aren't really landing. What are your thoughts on the strategy of this?
No, I fully agree with you. For two reasons. One, no experience is not great, but it's better than a bad track record.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that everybody listening to the more experienced politician is thinking, okay, but we tried you out and you sucked. So like, I guess I'm gonna go with the no experience, dude.
Yeah.
And also young people who are the people voting here.
He touched young people.
They have a special relationship with Mamdani.
All of the touched young people. They also have this attitude of, yeah, sure, I have no experience, but I could run Microsoft or whatever. So whenever a politician gets up there and it's like, yeah, I have no experience, but I'm going to do a terrific job, I'm sure there's a lot of young people who think that about themselves. And they're like, okay, checks out.
Now, the polling, the truth for Andrew Cuomo and Sliwa, this Republican, like, I don't even know if the debate performance, I think at this point, Mamdani could walk up there, open up his jacket, and show a bomb vest under it, and people would still probably vote for him. But maybe not then.
Islamic enough.
Well, now he's Muslim enough, yeah. But what I mean is his lead in the polling looks insurmountable, according to the polling aggregation in Real Clear Politics. Now, some of this includes Mayor Eric Adams, who has since dropped out of the race. But Mamdani is leading by an average of 18 points in polling going back to the start of September. Mamdani's closing in on majority support. He's sitting at like 45% in the aggregated polling. What that means is if Cuomo and Sliwa run together, or if they're both on the ballot, they're going to lose. They have to consolidate their support together. And that's even a big question. Like for the actual Republican voters in New York City, I know they're a minority, but they exist. Would you vote for Andrew Cuomo coming from a conservative perspective just to stop Mamdani? I don't even know if that necessarily works. But as long as these guys are both in the race, there is no path for either one of them. And I don't know if they would work out some kind of deal, but TikTok guys, like this is not going to, it's just not going to work. So if you both share opposition to this guy, you have to have some kind of deal. I don't even know how it works because the Republican Party gets a nominee, right? Can they just like not run? Could it be independent versus Democrat? I don't know what the rules are in New York City elections, but
I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like the Republican candidate could drop from the race. It would be odd if he just couldn't drop altogether. But surely a Republican in New York would rather vote for like a traditional Democrat over a socialist. Like,
it's hard for me to say. Like, if you live there, I would assume you want some semblance of your city maintained, but maybe it's already too far gone. You're just like, whatever.
They're
Might
like
as well
all
go fully in.
collapsitarians. Yeah, collapsitarians for sure. Man, this is rough. Like, I don't know. I hope they figure it out because a socialist can do so much damage so quickly, so little time.
November 4th, we're going to find out. So stand by. I want to also talk about Chicago briefly because we have similar political clownsmanship going on there lately from the mayor and the governor. Now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has been fighting immigration enforcement in really all across the state, but in Chicago specifically. And within the last couple of weeks, we've seen episodes of Chicago police refusing to police attacks on ICE. Again, not just help with immigration enforcement. They're not required to, and they have a state sanctuary law against assistance in that way. But we're talking about rioters attacking ICE, conducting immigration enforcement, ICE then calling police for assistance with the attacks. Not immigration and deportation, just, hey, there are people attacking us. Would you come stop the attacks? And they were ordered to stand down. And so they're not even assisting with emergencies in progress that are only incidentally related to immigration. And so now J.B. Pritzker is, for any benefit of the doubt you could give them, they don't have to assist with federal law enforcement, which is a point I'm actually sympathetic with, even though I disagree with the wisdom of that decision in this context. It's really hard to say they're not obstructing when now J.B. Pritzker is openly strategizing, trying to concoct ways to arrest ICE agents conducting immigration enforcement in Chicago and in Illinois. Here's it. What can I get them on? I know they threw tear gas, and that's against the law.
You said on Sunday that you were looking at prosecuting ICE agents who violate the law. What would that look like?
Well, we don't know yet, because let's start with the fact that the federal agents
typically have federal immunity. We don't know that anybody would be held accountable at the federal level. So we're looking at all of the options at the local level with county states attorneys to go after people when they're breaking Illinois law, when they're breaking local law. And we think that they have. You know, when they're driving through an area, someone's yelling at them and they decide to simply throw a tear gas canister out of the car as they're driving through at someone who's on the side of the road. That, it seems to me, is a violation of Illinois law. And so the question is, can we hold the officers, the agents responsible when they do something like that? If it were a police officer, we could. If it was, you or me or just an average person throwing a tear gas canister out the side of a window at people, we could hold them responsible. So it seems like they ought to be held responsible for breaking local and state laws.
Jen Psaki nodding along. Oh, yeah, I'm not free to just chuck tear gas canisters in Chicago, as though that's a plausible scenario in any context. And as though ICE is just chucking tear gas canisters for fun. No, you know why they're doing that? Because you refuse to police the attacks on them. So what we're setting up here is a situation where it's free reign, it's open season on ICE agents. You can attack them, and then when they are forced to use crowd control methods or means of stopping that attack, then we arrest them for what is defending themselves at that point. That is what they are setting up or trying to set up in Chicago. Again, the idea that the biggest crime in Chicago, the most significant crime that they're going to put their resources to, is whether a tear gas canister was thrown, and not the Glock mags that are dumped in drive-bys on any given street on any given day. So I actually would be curious to see how this would play out legally, Robert, if they tried to do this, because there is no tear gas. I will speculate. There's no tear gas canister thrown by ICE without some plausible reason for it to be thrown. I'm not saying every single one is definitively justified, but I reject this idea that they're just chucking them out of their pockets for fun as they walk down the street. What's going to happen then is you're arresting federal agents for squarely legally valid federal law enforcement. Would that be grounds for some sort of obstruction charge against Pritzker or the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, when you are clearly targeting law enforcement agents for arrest because they're doing their legally valid job, not because they've abused someone, but because they're conducting what is valid law enforcement?
I don't think that they could get him for obstruction because they're doing this under color of law. Like they're doing it at least under the auspices of this is how the law works. However, I have long theorized that this is how a civil war actually starts. This exact scenario where a state arrests a federal officer. Now, I never considered this specific scenario. I thought, like, what if a red state arrests an ATF officer, let's say? Because practically what's going to happen, like, Trump is not going to end up with egg on his face, or he's not going to want to anyways. And so you're going to have this local police that is holding a guy, a nice guy in this scenario. And now here comes the feds to rescue this guy. Now, hopefully cooler heads will prevail and there will be a quick lawsuit, in a sense, a quick legal proceeding, and the judge will decide. But one can easily see how the feds could actually break into that jail, that county jail, city jail, whatever, to get their guy back. And then we are literally in an armed conflict between a state and the feds. I think these people are creating the most dangerous situation, politically speaking.
Well, it all started in Illinois with that menace Abe Lincoln. So it's gonna kick off there again sometimes.
But
all right.
One quick comment. I am kind of jealous. Like, the Democrats really have some stones to be doing this. Like, the red states have never done anything like this. Think of like COVID days when the feds were overstepping all over the place. And I feel like we all kind of fantasized of the red states actually saying, no, enough is enough. Like, we're not doing this nonsense. Nope. Not a Republican will ever do this. But the Democrats, they're out there fighting at least what they believe to be the good fight.
Well, yeah, you got to give them credit for their stones, whether they're threatening to arrest immigration agents or sending their toughest grandmas to the streets to intimidate all of us. But it's time for Hoax Hate, if you're ready for that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a super quick break. I'm going to be right back.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Well, in Boston, 3 weeks ago, it was reported that there was a senseless gang attack on a gay couple for homophobic reasons. The gay couple was supposedly targeted with homophobic language before a fight ensued. And ultimately, the gay couple was attacked. This included actually a baseball bat to the back of the head of one of the guys. Though, from what I gather, I think everybody is actually okay. There wasn't like any kind of serious injury, but baseball bat to the back of the head obviously is a very serious attack. Complicating this case is the fact that all 8 of these supposedly homophobic attackers are black. So, does it really count as a hate crime then anyway? Generally, hate crimes of color are not reported as news, or at least not as significantly. And so what explains the way that this case has played out? So, Robert, to catch you up really quickly, there was an alleged homophobic attack in Boston. And according to the 2 gay guys who were attacked, they said that they were called some sort of slur. And then 8 black guys attacked them. And so, that brings us to what the result here. What exactly happened? Because now they're saying it's not a hate crime, even though these 5 of these guys have been charged. So the question is, was this in fact not a hate crime? Or is it not being treated as a hate crime because of the diversity of the attackers? That is the question. Well, let's review the allegations here. So one of the victims, the alleged victims, told police this story. He and his boyfriend were walking toward a convenience store when this group of men started making anti-homosexual remarks at them.
Look at this fat.
The men approached, and the gay guys responded with a verbal remark. They responded with a remark of their own. We don't know what that was.
I dare you, fucking bitch.
Then the approaching group split into 2 and attacked both men. No additional details. Robert, before you rejoined, I'd mentioned that the attack included a baseball bat to the back of the head. So, significant attack. But now, this is 3 weeks ago. Now Boston police say no hate crime charges here. 5 men have been charged with assault and related charges. No hate crimes. The Boston Police Department says their civil rights unit investigated the case, and hate crime charges were not appropriate, but no further explanation for why. So again, I conclude this story with the question. Is it not a hate crime because the gay guys were more aggressive than they said they were, which is possible? Or, maybe they did something otherwise aggressive to these black attackers. Or is it not a hate crime because the attackers were black and we're seeing some sort of race-based, lenient criminal justice once again? What do you think?
Man, this one is hard. I don't know. I don't know. If I had to guess, the gay guys used the hard R.
Well, then they should be charged. Why are they getting away with this? This is too diverse. Okay. We need a straight white Christian male somewhere here to figure out who's responsible for this injustice.
But I mean, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Maybe black people are incapable of hate criming. I don't know.
Oh, they're capable of hating, just not hate criming. Yeah. Anyway, my favorite example is always the one from San Francisco where they beat up the Asian guy. They, being a group of black attackers, beat up the Asian guy with he was an elderly can picker. Remember that one? And they hit him with his can picking device, and they literally said,
I hate Asians.
I hate Asians, while committing the attack. And the San Francisco DA said that is not a hate crime. They couldn't get, it's on video, beating him while saying, I hate you on account of your race. So,
and I don't mean to laugh. That is terrible, by the way. That is terrible. I condemn that. But it's just like so on the nose. That's why I'm laughing. It's like, yes, I'm literally committing a hate crime right now.
So I don't know. Could have been like, I hate gays, N is what this could have been. Who knows? But okay, you know what I love about Halloween season, Robert? In addition to the fun that I have with my family and watching my boys enjoy the selection of their costumes and all of that, the candy haul and all the fun that comes along with the season. It's the fact that some Halloween decoration schemes at homes get too aggressive and they are perceived as hate crimes themselves because there might be dead people, they might be hanging from things, they might get misinterpreted as racially aggressive messages. Well, it's happening in Hamden, Connecticut. The local NAACP chapter is denouncing a guy's Halloween display at his home and calling for its forcible removal, calling it racially insensitive and offensive.
That's unacceptable.
The home is on Whitney Avenue, and it has displays that include razor wire, watchtowers, skulls, and effigies hanging. You can see some of that there. The NAACP says this display is similar to historical lynchings. These are practically lynching displays. And I actually thought the outrage would be that it looks like something like a concentration camp. You know, the watchtowers. This sign, let me find. Doesn't that sign so it's the gates of the asylum, but it looks kind of Auschwitz-y, don't you think? It looks
Yeah,
like
it does.
Yeah, work will set you free at this haunted house, maybe. That point is actually raised in this post. It's right next to a synagogue, too. Not only is it anti-black lynchings, but it's anti-Semitic as well. Okay. But I was looking at this house, and the house actually has a long history of very elaborate Halloween decoration schemes. This is a story in the local New Haven Register about this same house. Now, when I say it's the same house, I'm looking at the decorations, but it's also described as being on the same street that the house that the NAACP is complaining about. So I'm 90% sure it's the same house, but I'd have to verify the address. Anyway, assuming it's the same house. Back in 2021, the owner of the house had decorations including skeleton riders on skeleton horses. There were skeletons flying in the air. The owner of the house, his name is Eric Andrewson. He said that he even hires out actors to haunt his house on Halloween so that when people come and trick or treat, they can actually enter the home and have a haunted house experience too, if they dare enter. So this is a whole production for him. And the story from 2021 actually implies that he's gay because it says that he does these Halloween decorations with the assistance of his partner Alfred. And I thought, well, he's either gay or he's Batman and he has an Alfred.
I really thought you were going to say this implies he's gay because he decorates his house. Like I thought that was going to be the evidence. No,
his partner Alfred. I mean,
got it. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he's either gay or he's Batman. But then, so again, the black on gay aggression from the prior story in Boston, is that what we're witnessing here? This is just a very Halloween festive gay guy who's taking it a little too far with his Halloween decorations, and the local NAACP will have none of it. Once again, the aggression against the gay community, the aggression of color, continues. And on that theme, before I get into, you have any thoughts on this Halloween display, Robert?
I feel bad for the poor gay man decorating his house. Like, this is clearly something he enjoys. He spent all this time and money to like have the greatest, Halloween production he can have. And then for somebody to ruin it like this, like, I don't know. I appreciate, now, don't get me wrong. Would I want this person to be my neighbor? Maybe not. Like, maybe this is not what I would want in my neighborhood.
I think the decorations are awesome. That's all. I can't comment on his neighborly quality other than that, but I think the decoration scene is great.
That's what I mean. Not the guy in particular. I don't know. I mean, like, would I want maybe all those decorations right next to my house? I don't know. Whatever. But I can appreciate the hustle. Like, somebody's really going all out. They're being super fun for Halloween. And then they're being accused of being racist. Like, what next? Yeah. He probably left an unattended rope and it's now a news.
Well, you can see in the background of this photo, there's someone at the gallows there on the left side. They're pretty small, but yeah, anyway, we'll see how this is resolved. But yeah, I think this is way cooler. I'll tell you who really pisses me off with their Halloween decorations. It's not elaborate Halloweeners. Careful how I say that. That sounds weird, especially in this context. This guy's just a very flamboyant Halloweener for sure. It's the people who I'm not going to out who these people are, and I also don't want to reveal my particular neighborhood, but there's a business near me that already has Christmas lights on every night, all right? You want me to become an actual fascist? We need to get this under control. I will forcibly remove those lights from your business. You pre-Thanksgiving is debatable. Pre-Halloween Christmas lights, wreaths, garland, all of it, the whole bit. No. We have to stop this insanity.
Pre-Thanksgiving is sketch. Pre-Halloween is illegal, I'm pretty sure. You should accuse him of racism. I don't know what the angle will be, but
I'll have to figure it out. That's the most reliable method of getting it taken down for sure, is find a way in which it could be interpreted as a noose, and then it'll go away. Mm-hmm. Wreaths are they're loopy. I'll have to think about it. All right.
Surely Santa's racist. Like, I don't know.
Probably. Speaking of the aggression of color against gays, there's maybe another episode in the Bay Area of California. This is San Leandro in the East Bay. And there's a gay couple that says someone approached their home at 6 a.m. and lit their pride flag on fire. The incident was captured on their security cameras, and it looks like it was a black guy. It's hard to tell. I don't know. You be the judge, but this looks like it might be an attacker of color to me.
The camera clearly shows the attacker walk up to the house on Lee Avenue, set fire to their pride flag, and they say they're just glad it didn't burn down their house. They are hoping someone will recognize the suspect. From his kitchen window, Daniel Montgomery said the sight of the pride flag singed, the rainbow colors burnt, and in tatters was a shock.
We started going through our security footage.
That's when he and his husband, Nick Garcia, saw a man around 6:30 Wednesday morning on their cameras walk right up to their garage door beneath their bedroom and set the pride flag on fire.
Even with the sensor lights going off, didn't have a regard for it and still did it.
The video shows the man then casually walk back towards Nick's parked car, pausing to watch the flames.
Seeing the footage and the flames in the camera as the guy was walking away, I was like, he didn't even know that was going to stop. That scared me.
The flames eventually went out, leaving burn marks on the house, a close call, and a painful blow to the couple.
This is the first year we've ever had a flag out, just as a response to what's happening politically, and we needed people walking by to see us for one, but also let other people know that we're a safe spot. And to have someone try and take that away from us was such an act of violence that could have really done a lot of damage.
Garcia and Montgomery say they take heart from the response by neighbors to this hate crime.
We're going to buy your next flag, and we're going to make sure that we put more flags in the neighborhood, just because there's no room for that here.
So still no suspect identified, no arrest made. Was this an authentic case of anti-gay arson? Was this a stunt to push more pride flags in the neighborhood? They say that is the consequence at the end. Now, either way, as always in the Bay Area, it's never gay enough. San Francisco is still not gay enough. We have to make it more gay. That's the only solution here. For what it's worth in your interpretation, I did not find a GoFundMe campaign for this particular incident. So what do you think? Is this a hoax, Robert, or is this what might be yet another aggression of color against the gay community?
I think this is legit.
You think so?
Yeah. But I bet there's more to the story. I bet these are the two most annoying gay guys you've ever met. Like,
okay.
I bet they've been terrorizing the neighborhood with like gay propaganda. And finally somebody was like, no, enough of this.
I'm putting a stop to it. Who knows? Maybe they had their Halloween decorations were too aggressive, and this guy was just seeking justice in that regard. We don't know. We'll have to wait for more information from the San Leandro Police Department. But let's get through Super Chat, Robert, and then I know you wanted to discuss the Politico Young Republicans chat leak story. So we'll try to move efficiently, and we'll see if we can beat the 3-hour mark. That is always the challenge. Anyway, let's get back into Super Chat. And I left off with, let's see. I think Joshy Boy here is where we left off. The commies are accepted in our society due to the false belief that the ideology is quote-unquote for the people, which sounds nice to the unlearned. Well, yeah, it's always easy to point at someone else and say, that guy owes you more. We should all point a gun at him and take it. The problem is eventually the gun gets pointed at you. When your philosophy is fundamentally about pointing guns, feels great when you're on the butt end of it. When you're on the muzzle end, you change your mind. But unfortunately, by the time you have that realization, it's often too late.
They killed millions. That's all I have to say. Like, the communists killed more people than the Nazis and the Italian fascists. Like, they did. But at any rate, I rest my case.
Producer Tim, Rumble not working for me, so fuck it. Let's try Tippy. There's a headline from CNN from 2012 that reads, liberals want Obama to be a king, not a president. These hypocritical bastards can fuck all the way off. They'd be happy to have their king. Oh, I think if it was proposed to make Obama king, the sign up for that would not be zero, for sure.
Oh, for sure. The millions of people would vote yes.
Joshy Boy also says, I think COVID missed a few oldies. Unfortunately, Andrew Cuomo didn't shove them into the nursing home. I saw you kind of nodding at that Mamdani line.
Yes, I was like, that's a good line.
He got him on that. I mean, I'm not convinced that Mamdani would have handled it any differently.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
But great, like, I can't believe how the Democrats turn on each other like that. But yeah.
Well, yeah, the same people that were yelling at everybody else for minor transgressions against the wisdom of the time, the lockdown wisdom. The same people who wanted you fired and your life ruined if you didn't toe the line, they'll happily turn around and be like, get a load of this guy who locked down the schools and put COVID grandmas in the nursing homes. What an idiot. Yeah, very convenient when you have all that hindsight. Long Dong John, I bet John Bolton's mustache will be very popular in prison. It's handlebars, you know? You grab on each side. The walrus will be a popular choice for sure. So Erica Unbound, thank you, Long Dong John. One reason lefty geezers are all worked up is that they have a sense the culture is about to crash and burn around them. They aren't wrong, but don't want to admit their role in setting us up for the collapse. Well, yeah, for all the older people there, your dissatisfaction with the country, I'm not saying each individual there is personally at fault, though it wouldn't surprise me if they are. But what I am saying is, if you have been politically active your entire life and you're that dissatisfied with the state of our country, isn't there at least a little bit of introspection? Like, is it possible that my philosophy, according to which I've voted and I've promoted for decades, could that be plausibly related to the results that we're seeing here, given that I've personally been pushing it along with my friends for years and years and years? Again, it's not to say like, you guy who's at the No Kings, it's your fault uniquely. I don't know. Asking these people for introspection is a fool's errand, but I wonder whether they admit it or not. Do they have that thought in their brain? Like, the Skinner style thing. Could I be part of the problem?
But I really don't. I think these people have been watching CNN and MSNBC for 30 years, and they are truly, truly convinced that Republicans are Nazis or whatever.
Injured Guardian, I have proof about the cornucopia, the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia, the film Shazam on VHS, and the two spellings of the Berenstein Bears. I'll happily email them to you. I didn't know that there are two spellings of the Berenstein Bears. That's news to me. But I am aware of the publications, the books. Of course, I read them as a kid. AP, happy birthday, Matthew. Keep up the amazing work. Well, thank you very much.
We love you. You're very special.
Let me hit refresh here and hop over to Rumble. Over on Rumble, this is a great one. I think that ceiling bird chirp from Alec Baldwin, the Alec Baldwin video on Wednesday is real. He is spiritually black. He's committed 2 crimes, and his response is he didn't do nothing.
That's unacceptable.
I don't know if you saw that on Wednesday, Robert, but yeah, Alec Baldwin crashed his car into a tree, still doesn't take responsibility, blames the truck driver, and he actually had the ceiling bird chirping, the smoke alarm, battery alert chirping in the video, which was amazing. It was amazing detail in the Alec Baldwin saga.
Surely it's the fault of the person who handed him the smoke detector.
When I saw him blaming the truck driver, I thought that quote from Alec Baldwin in the context of the accidental shooting of his cinematographer, I know someone is responsible. And I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me. It's the most Alec Baldwin thing ever said. And it's like, you just created a line so perfectly applicable to your life. Every time something bad happens to you, you just push the button. Someone is responsible. And I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me. Alec Baldwin's entire, not just his political philosophy, his philosophy about life in general. And he delivers that line with such confidence. As an actor, of course, he probably should be good at that sort of thing, but
Yeah.
it is amazing how widely applicable that line and that brief clip becomes. Let's see. Gotta hop back over to YouTube here. Jonathan Prezios, damn, did you guys miss my super chat? Thought it was hilarious when I thought of it. I'm pretty sure we got that one, didn't we? That was the Latin kings are approved, of course. Yeah, that was the reference about what kings Democrats like. You're right. We did get that one, but it was brief, so maybe you missed it. But good joke, I agree. And thanks for supporting the show. Let's see. Matt, you do understand those people are probably a Christian family. That's kind of a way Christian families battle it out because they hate the celebration of Halloween. I do know that there's a lot of opposition in people of Christian faith for reasons of, well, Robert, you could probably help me explain. Just, you shouldn't celebrate demons and that sort of thing is the thought. This, however, the when you say those people are probably a Christian family, I don't know if you mean the home owners who are doing the decorating or the people who are opposed to it.
I think he means the people opposed to it. Like maybe they're weaponizing the system to...
Yeah, but they're not going to win on Christian faith. They're going to win on racial superiority and preference.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I mean, I hope that's not the case. All I can say is if that's a family of... If that's a Christian family, if you have an issue with something, you have to be honest. Just come out and say it. I don't think Christians should be opposing Halloween for the most part. But if you are, just be honest. Lying, it's not good.
And there's a reason the argument is being presented is not, hey, we believe this to be offensive to the Christian sensibilities of this community. No, we think that this is a celebration of the racial lynching of black people. There's a reason that argument was selected, but yeah, I take your point, Jonathan, and thanks for supporting the show. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we're caught up on Super Chat. Robert, did you want to discuss your take on the Politico Young Republicans chat?
Yeah, so I kind of want to make a kind of a broader point about whenever somebody gets in trouble for making an offensive joke. Because I've given this a lot of thought. Like, what does it mean? What does it mean to disclaim a joke or whatever, to renunciate it, repudiate it, whatever, right? Because all of these people, like all these Republicans, like J.D. Vance, they're being asked, hey, do you oppose what was said in those chats or whatever? But what does that mean in the context of a joke? Because a joke is not affirming the premise, right? Like if I make a joke, like say we always do on the show or whatever, that is like a little sexist or racist or whatever. Clearly, I'm not actually proposing that. Like I obviously don't want that. So now, is there a time when we really should say, hey, making that joke was inappropriate? And I think that yes, that's when essentially there's poor timing. We all recognize this, and making a joke can be really crude and unacceptable at times. Like, let's say that somebody's mom had just passed away of cancer, and I make a cancer joke to them.
I have definitely done the foot in mouth, not at a funeral, but in the context of it. Thankfully, not like giving a eulogy or something, but just, yeah. As someone who likes to make little quips, definitely said things in that context that I realized, shouldn't have done that. I'm going to shut up now. Yeah. A joke on the stream is not suitable for a funeral context, for sure.
Exactly. And actually, that gets to the point that I want to make, which is jokes can only be wrong when they're made in the wrong context. Because again, the joke does not have like propositional content that you're pushing. Like a joke is not saying, hey, let's let's discriminate against black people or against women or whatever. You just use those things as premises to make people laugh. And so, yeah, there are times like, again, let's say that you made this cancer joke at the wrong time and somebody said, hey, do you think what Matt did was wrong? And I'd be like, yeah, he shouldn't have made the joke at that time. Like that wasn't the right context for it. That was rude or whatever. But that would not be, the problem would not be that you're racist or sexist or whatever. It would be that you're rude.
So if the guy in the chat was the keynote speaker at the Holocaust survivors gathering, he probably should not have said, I love Hitler, winky face.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And so
fair enough.
Whenever these like Republican guys are being asked, hey, do you condemn the chat? I wish they would very clearly spell it out and say, hey, whether a joke is appropriate or not depends on the context. These guys were making jokes to each other in a private conversation. And you know what? I do believe that that is an appropriate time to make edgy jokes if you want to make them. And they can even say, well, I don't make those jokes or whatever. But that is really the only question to be asked when it's a joke. Now, it's different if there had been statements, like if somebody was texting the other guy being like, hey, how do we start discriminating against black people? Like, that's different.
That's unacceptable.
But yeah, so, and this comes up all the time, all the time. And I just wish people had that clarity of mind to say the only time I'm going to oppose a joke is when it's made at the wrong time. And the maximum criticism I have against a joke is that was rude. End of story.
Yeah, I think everybody, if you really got honesty out of them, would generally agree with the premise. The problem is it assumes that honesty is what these people are aiming for and not pure weaponization. And of course, it's a weapon with which to club your opposition. We just want to portray Republicans as hateful Nazis who will attack you at any moment. And we know this is true because, again, based on the contemporary comparison to the AG candidate Jay Jones in Virginia, you've got a guy who's not joking. And when pressed in chat, are you like serious about wanting that guy's kids dead on account of political disagreement? Oh, yeah, I'm serious about that because it brings about the political ends that I seek. Mm-hmm. And that guy's still running for AG. He apologized because it was uncovered. But instead of wanting him removed from his prospective job in the way that they're celebrating the scalps of the firings of these young Republicans leaders, the line from Democrats is, well, he's apologized and voters have accepted his apology. Yeah, that tells me all I need to know. It is two different standards because it's a weapon. This is not in pursuit of any sort of moral truth. It's just what can I get my opposition with and how can I protect my friends? And of course, that's pretty much the nature of our politics at this point. But I do agree with you that insofar as we grant the premise of a morally wrong joke, that such a thing exists, it is less a question of content and more a question of timing. Even jokes about death itself, maybe even murder itself, so long as you're not sincerely advocating for those things when asked to clarify, those can be funny, and I don't necessarily believe it's appropriate to police the private humor of people having a private conversation. Now we could say like, well, they're in a professional context and party leadership, but yeah, okay. But I do think that that's the distinction with the Jay Jones thing too, is the intent of the commentary. Like the stuff in the Republican chat is clearly sarcastic. The stuff Jay Jones is talking about is clearly sincere because he was asked to clarify if he meant it, and he said yes. So, yeah, I think that's a good breakdown. I think that's a good distinction for people who care about the moral principle and not just getting their opposition.
And now this is going to be an edgier point, but I think that edgy jokes generally, not always, but generally actually are good. They reinforce the premise on which they're based. So like, let me use an edgy joke. I'll give an example. Now this is stupid, but whatever. I'm sure you've heard this joke.
You set the bar high. Guys, this is going to be edgy. And it's all right. Let me tell you, why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you've heard this one, but what do you say to a woman with two black eyes?
What?
I done told you twice.
It's okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay. Okay. It's just, whatever. I'm not trying to make people laugh. But what I'm saying is this. Let's take that as an example. Let's say you tell that joke like with a group of friends or whatever at a party or something. The joke is funny because you obviously don't mean it. Like otherwise the joke would not be funny. Like let's say that somebody who I know is beating his wife told me that, I would not laugh. I'd be like, no. Like this is utterly wrong. Like
It's the same way dead baby jokes are less funny at Planned Parenthood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. But when you tell that joke in public, it's essentially letting everybody know we agree on the premise that beating up your wife is wrong.
Yeah,
because
it's the shock value of the joke that makes it funny.
That's right. But it does have kind of this informational content, letting the group know I am confident that all of you guys will agree with me that beating up your wife is wrong. Because otherwise I wouldn't tell the joke. People wouldn't laugh. They'd be like, no, that checks out. Like, and so essentially what I'm saying is I don't think that edgy jokes are morally wrong. Generally speaking, as long as they're done in the correct context, they actually reinforce a good lesson instead of a bad lesson.
Yeah, even in the worst context, I think they're important to contextualize and protect, not just for the sake of free speech, but it's actually a therapeutic coping mechanism for people in very tough spots too. I mean, everybody experiences terrible events in their life. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like you must make Hitler jokes to cope with the loss in your life. I'm just saying when we wonder, how could you joke about such terrible things? Well, when you've experienced terrible things, oftentimes jokes about those terrible things are the way that we get through them. And so it's important to understand them in that context too. But yeah, I've never thought of that angle. Like by engaging in the shock, you are confident in the understanding of those to whom you are speaking, that they know you are not in fact sincere or engaged in the sort of conduct that you're talking about. Point taken. All right. Do you have any other points on the leak story?
No, those were my 2 cents.
Oh, thanks for the thoughts. I know we had one more chat come in here. Taker 610. Matt, it's been a while since I've watched you. Apparently, you have less hair than I remember when you streamed with Blonde. Well, yeah, I probably have less hair. I have less hat now too. So, but yeah, you know, it's been a rough go on the hair for a while, and now I'm in full dad mode, and that's all right. Actually, it's better than all right. I feel it's as we've talked about, Robert, such a relief to move into that era of your life when you are confronted with male reality and you have to move into that era of your life. But yeah, now which one is you? And I mean, when Robert was first on with my new look, that was kind of like, I'm not trying to steal Robert's style. The other thing, and I don't, when I first talked to Doug Mackey, our guest tonight, this was 2 years ago, and that interview was actually, my Russian propaganda tenant content, so it was over there. But I thought at the time, like, Doug Mackey looks like he could be a long lost relative of mine. Am I crazy? Do you think that we look something alike?
That thought did not cross my mind.
You didn't think that? Okay. Mm-mm. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like he looks like a cousin of mine or something. But I don't know. I don't know what his family history is.
Tell him to shave his head so we can,
join us, Douglas. I feel like, those memes where, speaking of distasteful jokes, those memes where someone dies and it's like George Floyd and Harambe all in heaven, like, join us. You see those?
Yes.
I feel like that's what I don't know. There's got to be some similar meme about bald guys, like, join us. Welcome to our kingdom. Anyway, all right. We saw one more come in here. Let me refresh. We'll get that and we'll call it a night. Right on time. It is the tradition, Robert. I keep saying, like, I'm going to get these streams down closer to 2 hours, and I can't help myself. So thank you for indulging with the prolonged. How do I'm going to talk myself into some material there.
That's a big game, man.
I shouldn't say. Thank you for sticking around for this extended duration. Let's put it that way. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Okay, the chat took a second. Newbie. God. He's back. If you tell edgy jokes.
You are gay, LMAO.
So he's defending how you can deploy that particular soundbite contextually and not be a bad person.
You know what
Thank
I
you.
realized? I messed up the joke, by the way, because the punchline is like, when he goes, "What do you say to a woman with two black eyes?" Nothing. You done told her twice. That's how that goes. But I messed it up because I don't use that joke all the time, if you can believe it.
Waka waka. And you ever see that Family Guy bit with Fozzie Bear and doing a tour of the Middle East, doing a tour of the Islamic world?
I don't know. It's been a minute.
Which I should just play. I once knew a guy who was so Muslim, or no, I once knew a guy who was so Arab, and then they all have their Aladdin swords. How Arab was he? He was so Arab that everybody loved him, and there was nothing funny about him at all. Waka waka. You know, that's kind of how it works in that part of the world, I guess. Anyway, all right. Anything else you want to talk about before we're out of here?
No, thank you very much for having me back.
Of course. Appreciate it as always. And thanks as always to our live chatters, our super chatters, everybody making the live production a success. Appreciate you. If you're listening live on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Hey, thanks to my guest and doppelganger in my own mind, at least, Douglas Mackey. Find him on X at Doug Mackey Case. And memedefensefund.com. He's not done with just his case. He's going to take the fight for other cases as well. memedefensefund.com. Of course, thanks to Robert for sitting in tonight. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance, as always. Find everything show-related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. I'm back on Sundays and Wednesday nights, of course. Hope to see you then. Until then, have a great night and a great week.
But I may as well try and catch the wind.